And today we have a very special guest, and I'm going to have him introduce himself.
Hey guys, how are you? Everybody good?
Good.
Ali Mehmedi, they call me the deal maker.
Yes.
Deal maker. I
Yes.
like that.
Very short and
Interesting,
sweet.
yeah.
I like that name, the deal maker. We can call him that. And look, I've been in the car business selling cars now. I think I told y'all this already. For about 3 months, maybe 4 now. And look, this man is my manager. He dropped hella gems on me. He's actually believed in me, and I'm actually starting to see results selling cars now.
Right.
Everybody was telling me to stay in this industry. I didn't really like cars. I still don't really fuck with cars that much, but I'm a nerd, so I got to learn the inside of cars, the outside of cars. But the people part, that's easy. He's seen that. He gave me an opportunity, and this is why we having the episode. I got plenty of questions for this man. This man is very interesting. So let's get in that mode ski.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to tell the people where you're from, and then I'll start?
Okay, so originally I was born right outside of Chicago, Berwyn, Illinois. I'm an old guy, so 1978. We moved, my dad became a business owner, a restaurant owner for a few years, and then we ended up moving to Connecticut. From Connecticut, stayed there about 9 months. He bought a house, and it was not our cup of tea. And then we ended up moving to New Jersey, and now, now I'm from Wayne. So it's not where you're from, it's where you're at, right?
Right.
I went to school in Wayne. I went to Tech. Shout out to Tech.
Okay.
I still ain't even been back there yet, but I love all my teachers and everybody that was there. Okay.
Absolutely.
Growing up in Chicago, do you want to just paint that picture for us? Give us a nice little background of the things you experienced and how it shaped you.
Sure. So it was outside of Chicago, really, a little bit west of Chicago, about 20 minutes. It was a town called Lyons, Illinois. And so as a kid, it was just a great experience, right? You had the library right down the street. You had the school right down the street. It was very, very friendly, family friendly. Had a convenience store right across the street from my house, so I would always go there. Moved in 86 or 85, 86. Then we moved to Connecticut in Waterbury, which was an experience in its own. That was a little tougher, I think. I was in 3rd grade, so it was a city. You know what I mean? Waterbury's a very active city in Connecticut. Went to elementary school. Really didn't go out at all. I was I was allowed to play when I was in Lyons, Illinois, right? But coming to Connecticut and Waterbury was a little bit rougher, I guess, so to speak. So I wasn't really allowed to go out. But then we moved back. So I moved to New Jersey. Then we moved back to Chicago. So in New Jersey, we moved in 1987. We lived there till about 91, right after the Bulls championship.
Okay.
In 91, then moved back, and then was there for the back-to-back when they went back-to-back. So that was in 92. So I was back there in Lyons, Illinois.
Tough.
That was great. So being a Bulls fan, being a Michael Jordan fan all my life, seeing that happen was great. And then at that time period, when I was 13 and 14, is when I started to really see the other sides of life, so to speak. A lot of gang activity. I went to a regional high school, which was called Morton West. They had Morton East, which was in Cicero, and then Morton West, which was in Berwyn. But it was a very big school. I had to take not a school bus, I had to take the city bus to go to school there.
Wow. Okay.
So that was an experience. People that you talk to on the bus that you become friends with. A lot of the gang activity was pretty big there. I had a couple friends that wanted me to join. Of course, I didn't. I was not something that wasn't my cup of tea. But there was a lot of activity as a kid, seeing the things that went on there.
So there's 2 questions that I want to ask you.
I got a question too.
Right? So you said that you're from Chicago. You've been living in Chicago a little bit in your teenage years. Have you ever went to 63rd or O Block?
Oh my God, 63rd Street.
No, I haven't, but I did go. We just went to Chicago a couple years ago. My son and I wanted to take him to a Bulls game for his birthday, so we ended up going there.
Nice.
And he tried to have me go there. You know what I mean? Which was no big deal. I'll go.
Right.
But my wife and my other kids didn't want to do that.
Yeah, your wife is smart. She's smart.
It was.
If I go, I'm driving past. I'll drive.
Driving
They
past.
have like this Albanian London rapper that his name is Visions, I think. And he's in O Block right now. Like, they support him wholly.
Oh, wow.
He's literally there.
Shout out
if
to
you
him.
look him up. Yeah,
Shout out to him.
absolutely.
He's a trooper. He's
Absolutely.
a soldier.
I hear you do mention a lot of music and stuff when we be working. I be like, yo, my boy know what he be talking about. Who's your favorite artist from Chicago?
Oh, from Chicago?
Yep, from
So,
Chicago.
I like Lil Durk. I think Lil Durk's a good rapper. Obviously, Kanye West. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, people forget about that.
Absolutely.
That's a
They
reason
do.
to
Where
forget
he
about
from?
it now.
They do.
So
They
you-
do.
you
I like
mentioned-
Chief Keef earlier.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
in his
Right.
career, the first album only. Everything else after that
Okay.
really lost me.
Yeah.
But his first album was definitely raw and
I
and
don't.
good.
I don't know if you were in Jersey when Chief Keef came out,
Yeah,
but
it
it
was.
was such a wave.
It's huge.
Every hood started naming they gangs after his gang.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
You remember that era?
Yes,
Oh
yes.
my goodness, it was
Everything
so
was
corny.
Old
Everybody was
Same.
Sosa something.
Yeah, so everybody had dreads.
Yeah, everybody had dreads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody was crazy.
That's when it all started. The whole wave started.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
That's-
you-
That's
Shout
when
out to
music
Chief
changed,
Keef.
right? Hip hop changed at that point. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? That's when it started to change.
You
Absolutely.
mentioned that you weren't. You said you weren't able to go outside when you were in Chicago. Like you weren't.
Oh, it was
able-
in Connecticut.
Oh, in
I was
Connecticut.
Yeah, Waterbury. It was.
Oh, okay. Why
you know,
not?
the first time we moved there, so we bought a 3-family home. We lived in an apartment, like more in the inner city. Before we bought the house, we had to live there like 6 months. There was a family on the third floor that, you know, just a family. They're from Waterbury. He had some kids. So my dad liked him a lot. He's like, listen, I'm buying a house. He's like, maybe you can rent out the third floor. You know what I mean? So they ended up moving to our new house on the third floor, and he had like a 15-year-old son at the time. And this is like the first month we're there. You know what I mean? And I get home from school. I don't know how I got home. I don't know if it was a ride or a school bus. It was a long time ago. But when I got home from school, all of a sudden I'm just playing on the front yard, and it kind of was like a cement stoop. You have to go upstairs, and then basically the grass is up on top.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like the street is down at the bottom. So I'm at the top, kind of playing, and then there's all of a sudden my neighbor starts. He's running, right? So he's running. He's going up the stairs.
You better have started running too. If you
Yeah.
see,
No, I was just looking. You know, I don't move.
Come
I was,
on.
I was not a mover.
Bystander.
I was not a
Look,
mover.
Want to be collateral
all of us
damage?
know.
We know.
All of us know.
One
If
run-
you see somebody running, you supposed to run too. You
We ask questions later.
Later.
But
Later.
he was black. They're a black family. So
Yeah.
he was running up, and he was scared, like he was running. And then there was like not to say that I knew what he was, but he was probably Spanish looking, and he had a knife, and he was running after him. So I'm like right in the lawn. My dad's in the driveway. My dad grabs the shovel right away. It was like a broken shovel that he had there, and he just grabbed it, and he fended him off. But that was the reason my dad goes, "You're not going anywhere." You know?
Okay, all
So
right,
that was
all
like a
right.
big thing.
So Connecticut is like, oh, okay.
Waterbury's
Connecticut.
like that, yeah, definitely.
You about to
Okay.
get
I heard
switched.
Funk
You about
Flex
to
on
get
the radio
switched.
talking about Connecticut earlier today. I forgot why I
Definitely.
was listening to the radio. Maybe. Oh, I know why. You got any more questions? Want me to keep getting right?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Sure.
So
Oh wait, no, I have one more question.
yeah, I'm.
Cause you talked a little bit about your childhood, so I wanted to know like what kind of kid were you? Did you always get like in trouble? Were you a good kid?
Yeah, so I was so my parents are immigrants. They came to this country in 1969. They moved to
Okay.
Patterson on River Street.
Oh.
He worked in a factory for a little bit. I wasn't born yet. I was born in '78. I think they moved in like probably mid '70s.
Okay.
They moved to Chicago. Then I was born obviously in '78. As growing up, I was like not that kind of kid. What I would always run. You know, like I would always take my 3-4 years old, grabbing the big wheel, and my mom can't find me. You know what I mean? I'd be all over the place.
Okay.
And one time, I guess I went to the library. I had no idea. You know what I mean? And then I just went there. I have no idea why I went there. I was like 4 years old, and I walked to the library, which is like probably like 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks before you can get there. It takes a few minutes.
Yeah, it was different back in them times. I know.
Oh yeah.
But my
Oh
mom
yeah,
was
you're right.
4 years old.
But my
No
mom
cell
was-
phones, no
yeah.
nothing. They trusted. Yeah.
But my mom was looking for me.
Okay.
So they ended up calling the police. They couldn't find
Yeah,
me.
I would have definitely called the police.
The detective was going all over the place, and he went to the library as an option. And I was sitting right there listening to like the library lady read a book or whatever, and that's when they found me. You know what I mean? So I was one of those kids that liked to go out and stuff, like to do stuff, but I wasn't a troublemaker, so to speak.
Yeah.
That didn't happen until I was 18. But yeah, so throughout my whole, childhood, growing up, was never really in trouble. I always kind of did what I was supposed to do. And again, I didn't know, like, my parents only knew Albanian. They were learning English, obviously. So there was a lot missing there. So when I went to school, I had to learn, right, English, so to speak. So
Wow.
a lot of the things that happened, I really didn't understand probably. I just went to school and went home. You know what I mean?
Right.
But as I got older and moving to Wayne, went to Wayne Valley High School.
Wayne Valley.
Yeah, class 96. Let's go.
Okay.
Beta
So-
ops.
So the bottom line is that after that period, I was also a pretty good kid. I mean, these kids were having parties and house
Right.
parties and drinking, and you would hear all the stories in school, crazy stories, right? People hooking up here, this, that, and the third. And I never did any of that. I had a group of friends that didn't do any of that. They didn't drink alcohol.
Sersky.
They didn't do any of that. And so I had a good high school. I really think that I was
Yeah.
real pure in high school. But then again, college comes along. A lot of my friends went to, one went to Penn State, the other one went here, the other one went there, and then what happens, right? Then you have more of
get corrupted.
an exposure to certain things. So my friends like, hey, Ali, smoke, just smoke. It's not bad. It's actually not bad. He goes, So then I guess that was the start of it. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Now smoking weed is probably not the bad part. The rest of the stuff I did was probably even worse.
And
But
you said it was around 18 years old, right? So
1997.
on the outside looking in, everybody can look like a finished product. He's a little bit older than us. I'm a little bit older than him. We probably project onto people like, oh yeah, they grew up like this and da-da-da because of the way they present themselves now. But you said at 18, you started to fall down. I want to know the feeling. How did you start tumbling, rock bottom, and then your ascend?
Yeah, so the beginning is always a party. The beginning is always you have control, right? So when you're doing, when you start dabbling into the things I dabbled in, and I started going to clubs in the city. So we used to go to Sound Factory, Carbon. It's old clubs from back in the day that I used to go to. And then I became like a club promoter as well. So I don't know if you know, on 46, it's called 46 Lounge.
Yeah,
Okay,
So
yeah.
that place
Pub
used to
46.
be called Mediterraneo. It was a restaurant, and I actually worked there. And then basically I came up with an idea to do like a lounge there on Friday nights, and then that's where really everything started for
That's
me.
kind of what Eric
Okay.
does at our store. Shout out to Eric.
And
that's
shout
why
out
that
to
place.
46 Lounge too. I like.
Yeah, and
going there.
that's that place right now is what it is because of what I created at that time, which was Luna Lounge. We called it on Fridays, and then it ascended to I think Sports Sexy Cafe, and then it ascended to 46 Lounge. But all same concept.
Right.
But during that time period, doing a lot of the things that you do, right? I mean, you start dabbling into exotic drugs, right? Ecstasy and K and cocaine and things of that nature. So
How was it introduced to you?
So it was introduced to me just by the clubs, just by being around that kind of an atmosphere. You know what I mean? And already saying yes to the weed, you're thinking that, oh
Right,
yeah, this is
everything else is
okay.
gonna be
You know what I
fine.
mean? And it's really the alcohol. I wouldn't even say the weed. The alcohol is what really gauges.
I was
you.
about to say, your opinion right now. Tell the people, is weed a gateway drug?
I would say no. It's alcohol.
Ooh, talk to him.
It's alcohol.
Okay.
Because alcohol brings all your inhibitions down, and you say yes to everything. So that's the bottom line.
That's a fact.
That's true.
That's a fact.
With
With weed, you're gonna think about that shit.
You're just
You're gonna be too lazy
Or
to
you're
do
not gonna
shit.
care.
Oh yeah, or you're gonna get hungry. So it's one of the things that happen. You know what I mean? And that's the worst that can happen there, right? But yeah, the alcohol was definitely the gateway. And of course, then you get into the cocaine, then you get into the ecstasy and the K and the moon rock, so to speak, which is the MDMA, crystal meth. I mean, you can.
Can I
it
ask you-
Literally went into a spiral.
Sorry, cut you off.
No,
have
it's
you
okay.
have you ever taken shrooms?
No, I
You like
stayed away
shrooms?
from shrooms.
Dang,
See,
see, I'm
and I
a
like
psychedelic
shrooms.
nigga.
So-
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
No, so I'm probably okay with it if it's at a small dose. Because
Yeah.
I think they'd say there's a benefit to it,
Hell yeah.
to your mind and health.
Hell
So
yeah.
It probably could help me because, I say that I'm, Styles P says this, right? He'll say he's a 360 individual.
Okay.
And what does that mean?
notes.
So a 360-degree individual, right? So what that means is I've already lived a negative 180 of my life, and I've mastered it. So, that's the negative 180, and I did all that, and I probably did more than I should have, and I did hit rock bottom at a certain point. But I became a pro at that, and today I kind of say it like I was playing for the devil, and now today I play for God. So now
talk
I'm on
to
the
him.
positive 180, and I try to do everything to either try to help others or to try to help myself, obviously. But just like I want for the best for me and my family, I want the best for yours and yours and yours.
Yeah.
And ever since I've started living like that, everything has been coming to me. So
Blessings.
I'm on the right team. You know what I mean? Because when you're playing for the devil, you're gonna get backstabbed even by your best friend.
Right.
Talk to him.
So that's the difference. But when you play with everybody who plays for God, at the same time, you're not going to do that. And that person's going to say, I'm not going to do that to that person.
So
You
one
know?
question that I want to ask you is, what made you, what was the point, the ticking point was just like, yeah, I gotta stop and I gotta rebound. I gotta do better.
Yeah, so that was still all gravy at that point, right? I met my wife I was 24. She was 18. At that point is when I was still kind of, still drinking, not really doing much of the major drugs anymore. But then all of a sudden, painkillers. I was always the guy for some reason. It's like these fads hit me in the face. You know what I mean? These phases, right? So, 2004 I got married. 2005, my son was born in 2006, my oldest son, and in 2007 is when I started doing painkillers, right? That's when it started to all break apart. So, you go through the cycle of having a family, but then you still want to go out. And,
Right.
of course, being newly married, she trusts you. You're going to go places, you know what I mean? And, that's what started happening. And it was everything that was under, so she didn't know about the painkillers for a long time. There was another thing that I was, I used to hide things very well, not to say that's a good thing because it's not. But the bottom line is that you're going to painkillers and then all of a sudden the painkillers get out of hand. The doctor says no to you now. And then all of a sudden, where are you going?
You start
Now you're
fighting
going
the
to the
streets.
street.
Yeah, and then your body is like is
I need it.
dependent on it.
Yeah, you need. You're
So
getting
without
sick.
it,
So
yeah.
all of a sudden, then you start.
Can't
Then
eat.
you're
Your
like.
stomach
Then
is
you.
killing you.
Then you cross over, and then now you're buying a $10. You're buying a $5 bag of
At,
dope.
at that
Of heroin,
time,
so.
I'm pretty sure I've heard a lot of people who are addicted say that they were trying to fill a void. At that time, you probably didn't know, but in hindsight, could you describe what you maybe were doing
Yes, so-
for like a listener?
What I think there was some type of trauma for me when I was a kid. Maybe it was just my upbringing. Maybe it was, my family is real great, but we're not perfect, and I think that a lot of families are not perfect, right? So just by the way I grew up, maybe just seeing certain things, I believe I had some type of trauma, and this filled that or coped with it in some
Or
way.
substituted.
Subconsciously. I don't think it was something that, so in hindsight, I think instead of talking to my wife and talking about issues at that
Right.
time, instead of talking to my wife, right, I would complain about her, right, for instance, right, and she would obviously complain about me, right, and what I was doing, but we weren't talking to each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
Talking at each
Yeah.
other.
And that started to make us separate. You know what I mean? So, you're gonna go with the door that opens, right? So I went with that door because, not to say that was the choice I made. It was the kind of choice that was given, I guess,
Yeah.
right, so to speak. So then I started doing the painkillers, the dope, and then it just got serious after that, right? Then I got arrested, which I have never been arrested. I always had a way of out of it, so to speak. But 34 years old, getting arrested, going to jail for a little bit, very small, just at the count.
So that was that point where you were like, all right, enough is
Not
enough.
even close.
Oh,
So,
my
Not even
gosh.
close. So you don't say no. You're not like I used to say when people say, "Why don't you quit smoking?" Because I'm not a quitter.
I'm about to start saying.
I started to make excuses and started to say that she was bad, which wasn't the case. You know what I mean? Or say that everybody else was bad, and it was me the whole time. Got to a point where I lost, pretty much lost everything. Did a small stint in jail, right, for 4 months, and then went back the year after for 9 months, right? So, and during those time periods, I lost a lot of things. I lost, so the day before I went back in, the next day I was at court. The next day I was supposed to have daddy-daughter dance with my daughter. She was 8 years old or 7 years old, and I missed that.
Oh my
you know?
goodness.
My
Is that-
son would grab the phone if I was calling the house, and it would say, "This is county, whatever," right?
Yeah.
And then, so he kind of figured things out. And then these are all the things that when you're in jail and you're cleaning up, you start to realize, right? Or when you're calling your parents to get you commissary and they
Where
won't.
did they tell your kids that you were?
They said I was selling cars out of state. Doing sales out of state.
Is jail actually like the way it's described? For like many people who never have been to jail
Think it's
think of it a
different from
certain
prison.
way.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I know. We're not
jail
talking
and
about-
prison are different things, right? So jail.
Talking about jail.
Yeah, jail
Jail,
is depends on where you're going. I mean, if you're in Patterson, which I've been there, it's terrible, right? And that's just not terrible about. I'm not talking about the people, so to speak. It's just the way they run things. You know what I
System,
mean?
yeah.
It's the system. Then, of course, I was up north, right, in Sussex County, because my original arrest was there. So then they had to move everything there. There was like it was jail, still jail. Don't get me wrong. It was just a little bit cleaner, right? They ran it a little bit differently, and there wasn't many people. You know, there's a lot less people in that jail compared to Patterson, which had three. You know, they had
Stories.
Right.
three bunks, three
Plus
bunks. You're
women.
in one.
In
Yeah.
one room? That's crazy.
Crazy work.
They had a lot of people. at one
3? How
point.
you get up there?
I never heard of a triple story bunk.
Yeah, me either. Oh no, I did. Isn't that like kind of when they put you in the bigger rooms though? Like
Yeah, they
when
had
it's
them
like a
three
big
high. They had them
rooms.
three
Yeah,
high.
it's like
Something
yeah.
like the
intake,
army or
yeah, the
something.
intake.
It's like on Squid Games, you know, like they sitting on
Oh,
the bed.
yeah.
So
Squid Games had like
intakes,
9
they would
stories.
come with the Rottweilers. You know what I mean? When they're doing roll call, that was serious. And I was, you know, coming off of drugs again, coming off of Xanax and
How was that
perks.
getting? Well, not saying that you have done it, but how was that like getting off drugs in jail, right? Because it's like
It's
you
terrible.
kind
All
of
you could do
forced
is
to.
sleep. You know, all you could do is sleep, but you have to wake up when they wake up. So during
Right.
that roll call, you have to
You
get
wanna
up.
eat.
You have to stand straight, and I can't even get up. You know what I mean? So they're like dragging me off the bed. You know what I mean? Like crazy stuff. Or the
Yeah.
guys that were below me, they knew what it's like, and they're like throwing me up, picking me up, standing me up, because I was like done. You know
Were
what I
you
mean?
being taken care of? Like, were they putting money on your books? Like you were eating
No,
good
so that's the
snacks
thing.
and
So
stuff?
after a certain point,
Dried
my
out a little
family
bit,
just
yeah.
stopped. And again, going through that, you know, people stop talking to you. Your
Right.
family, you know, is in disarray, meaning my
Right.
wife and my kids, and now I'm looking at separation, maybe even divorce, right? So these are all the things that really happened to me inside of jail where I decided, you know what? And there was, to mention that, right, there's everybody's there that's there, didn't, and I'm not saying everybody, but to
Small
people I spoke to, right, a lot of the people had nothing going for themselves. You know what I mean? Like I had a career, you know what I mean, in the car business, and I was very successful. And I was a general sales manager even at that time in my active addiction.
I was just
You
about
knew
to
you
ask
didn't
you that.
belong there. It's like, oh, God,
yeah,
I
so
don't,
it
I
was
don't
like,
belong here.
so when I came out of this, and I said, I'm gonna go out, and that's what happens. You build yourself up, you start pumping up, meaning like get your head right, and you're gonna
Start
kill
locking
the
in.
world when you get out. When you get out of
Okay,
there, you
all
know what I
right,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of dudes like that that just got out of jail. They don't know how to sit down. Like they.
I mean, all you did was sit down in jail.
Yeah,
bro.
exactly.
Yeah.
They just so antsy. They gotta
Because
be.
they appreciate the smaller things now,
Yeah,
and like
exactly.
that they didn't have.
You
Yeah.
took it out of my mouth. Yeah,
Yeah.
like they don't see the world like somebody. They don't take
Yeah.
it for granted anymore.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
they
nobody sees the grateful stuff in life when you have your freedom until it gets taken away.
And sometimes you see like those guys. We say like, oh, he still has that like jail mentality, but like I think once the people go to jail, like they realize like you really don't need much to survive anyway. You don't need a
Yeah.
bunch of furniture, this and that. Like
It just changed
they're
your whole
usually like
perspective
yeah,
on
like
life.
table, bed,
I say for a lot of
toothbrush.
people, a lot of people don't learn discipline until they get to jail.
Yeah,
Talk to
yeah,
'em.
yeah.
Absolutely. So if you don't learn, you know, there's a lot of people that will go to jail, and that's what they know, right? They come back out, they do the same shit, they go right back. It's habitual. It's a behavior,
Yeah.
and it gets preempted in them at a young age. You know, if their father was not around, right, and he was in jail, you know, so now they automatically think that that's the way life's supposed to go. You know, there's nothing there for me. This is what I have, right?
There was many people like that in there. You're saying
Very,
okay.
very. And, you know, for me, it woke me up, right, where I think a lot of people need jail, you know, if you want to know the truth.
Yeah.
You
They
know,
do.
you have a lot of people
Yes.
that are 40
They
and
do.
50 years old that
I
act
say
like
that.
they're 16 and 18 in their mentality,
Yeah.
and they haven't grown. They need to go to jail, man.
Yeah,
They
and
need
very
to go.
entitled, very.
We
Yes.
need to bring back
Egotistical.
Beyond Scared Straight, but they need to stay in there though. They need to stay in
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. So it's, I always say that, you know, either they need, even if they're not alcoholics, they need a room. You know, they
Or
need an
sometimes
AA room
people need to
like,
get.
teach them.
I say people need to get punched in the face. A lot of people never got like hit or got in a fight, and
Yeah,
then they're
absolutely.
like they think they so big until they meet somebody their match and realize like, oh, you don't have the heart that
Oh
you
yeah,
thought you had.
or
Speaking
you
on-
can't beat everybody.
Speaking on fights, right? I'm 34 years old. You know what I mean? 35 years old, even 38, I think I was, maybe 36. But I was the second time I was there. Everybody tried to test me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I haven't fought since I was like a kid, right?
Right.
So I got into like 3 fights. I was in a hole a few times, but they were surprised. Let me put it that way. You know what I mean? So it ended up happening the way I wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
Thank God, right? But Then I realized that they picked me because they thought I was going to be easygoing because I was a jokester.
Right.
You know, I would do certain things and try to have a good time
Don't
while you're
seem
there.
like a
Why are
threat.
you there?
Yeah.
Why are you
Yeah.
here? Just let's have a good time while we're here. Don't be, you know.
It's hard to
so
have
they thought I
good
was
time
like,
with angry niggas in there.
so they thought I was a little soft, and certain things happened, and you know what? I learned from that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you learn someone who's so big sometimes is not so tough. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's all up front.
Do you
Yes.
think that you have to like come in and I heard someone say to someone,
You gotta prove
you need
yourself.
you need to learn how to jail.
Yes. You got to jail. Yeah. Yes.
I'm
And if
like, what is that?
And the term is if you can't jail, hit the button. You know what I mean? So the button is let me get out of here. You know what I'm saying? So the button is like, oh, you got a problem? Hit the button. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
there's a certain way to jail, and if you can't jail, and you're afraid, hit the button.
So like
Get outta
you
here.
have to like learn also and prep. Do you think like you have to come in here and set the tone? Do you think you should come in initially by
Absolutely not. So I think that's also another.
not saying fighting, but do you
Yeah,
think that
so
you
it's like
have to
stand your
put on
ground.
a certain
So you have to like. you just
persona
need
just to not
just need
get
to keep your-
tried?
honestly, if you don't want to get in trouble, don't gamble. And I hate to say this, don't have sex. and, and the third thing, don't join a gang in there.
Right.
you
Just
know?
mind your business.
Because you joining the gang, now you're all of a sudden you're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get in trouble because
All of
Or
their
you're a
problems
part of
becomes your
trouble.
problem.
You're a part of trouble, yeah.
Yeah.
You put your head down. You don't gamble. You put your head down, man. You don't gamble, and nobody's gonna mess with you. Not one person's gonna.
What about the
annoy you.
Muslim guys? They don't get in no trouble, right?
No, they
The
come
who
to you
guys?
Right away.
Muslim guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when I was in Patterson, as soon as they called my name, I had like 3-4 heads turn. You know what I mean? And they were black Muslims, but they came right away. They gave me the Quran. They gave me coffee. I mean, that's what
That's
you're
good,
supposed
yeah,
to
yeah.
do. You know what I mean? It was really, really great experience on that.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I hear a lot about that.
It was
actually.
awesome.
Me too.
That's why.
Yeah, the Muslim
that's
is
a-
like kind of like a gang, but it's not. You
I was
know what
about to.
mean?
It's like a safe gang. It's
Yes,
like a
yes. So
just a brotherhood, some backup, basically.
But if I could speak on that, you know, a lot of people, again, it's all because of what you said prior, not knowing anything, you know what I mean, or not knowing certain things, and you don't have a guidance, right? So when you get to jail and you do meet a Muslim brother, and all of a sudden he teaches you, and you're looking at the Quran and reading the Quran tells you exactly what kind of person to be, exactly what you need to do in a divorce.
Very practical.
Exactly
Yes,
what you need
yeah.
to do in certain paths. So you become something that you were never, you know, a lot of the people that go to jail are not taught. You know what I mean? Because let's just say, let's talk about the facts of it, right? Let's just say if someone's a kid, their father goes to jail and he's in and out of jail, and this kid's growing up, right? Well, who's teaching him now? You know what I mean? The mom's working 24 hours a day to just keep the rent and keep everything else going, right?
Yeah.
So who's teaching him? The streets are usually teaching him. And if he picked up the Quran at that time, he wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah.
But then they go in, they realize, and then they read that, and you can become the human being you need by reading the Quran all day long. It teaches you
Absolutely.
everything. Not to say other religions don't, because they probably do as well.
Right, yeah.
I'm just speaking on what I know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, very welcoming. Okay.
So, you know, that's the difference. But jail was interesting, and coming out of jail was interesting. Starting over, and that's what I wanted to speak about. You want to jump out and do everything, but
Right.
you have to learn that you have to stop everything because everything you did was wrong. So
Yeah.
you have to do a step by step. And, you know, I didn't just go back to become a general sales manager, and I had to sell cars at a used car lot.
Right.
And I was overqualified, obviously. They ended up getting rid of all the sales. I was the only salesperson because that's how good I was. They ended up they're like, I'll leave, take care of everything. And if I needed to leave because I had to go to court or I had to go to I had like a outside rehab or whatever, I used to go to Eva's in
Oh yeah,
Patterson.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to Eva's, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah.
They helped me a lot. There's a lot of people there that helped me a lot, you know, because
Yeah.
they made you realize certain things, you know what I mean? So I had to take a step by step, and no
Yeah.
matter how long it took, I knew that as long as you're taking each step, you're going to get there.
Yes,
Lo and behold, later on today, even a few years ago, I was very happy with what I've accumulated. So everything I've done in the last, say, 8 years, I could have been there already. You know what I mean? If I did it from the start, you know, people need to realize that the youth or the young age and them getting influenced by social media or music or whatever, that will take you down the wrong path.
Yeah.
Those distractions, I should say.
Yeah,
It's not like they're not good. There is bad in everything, right? So there's good in everything too. So even in music or even in anything that you watch on social media, it's the content you're actually
Consuming.
looking at and consuming. So you can like I said, if you open up your Instagram, I'm sure it's going to be completely different than my wife's Instagram. You know what I mean? My wife's
They got
Instagram,
them algorithms down
they
pat
don't,
now.
yeah, my wife's Instagram doesn't have any IG models on it. You know what I mean? So
I think if you're just a guy, they show you that stuff because I don't even.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
it's
like it's
crazy.
Whatever you talk about too, I feel like goes into the phone.
Yeah, it's
But
crazy.
congratulations on that. I'm glad that
Oh,
you made
thank
it out
you.
of that. And
It's
8
huge.
years is kind of like
9 years
recent a
now.
little bit. That's
9
kind of
years
like
now.
Almost a decade.
2016.
yeah.
So next year's 10 years.
So
which
were
I
you
don't count.
always
Yeah.
in the car business? You said you were in the car business, but like prior to the addiction and the jail and all.
So I was.
How'd you get into the business?
So, I
Yeah,
mean, I
how did you-
started. So I was like 13 years old. I started bussing tables with my uncle at his, the restaurant he worked at. So I've been working since I was like 12, delivering papers. So 13, 14, they had to pay me cash under the table, obviously. Was in a restaurant business, then I became like a waiter. My dad was a waiter, so you kind of like follow what your dad
What you
does or
see.
see how he makes money. So I was making pretty good money doing that in the restaurant business. Then I sold furniture. I don't know if you remember Value Furniture Mattress Warehouse. It used to be next to Foreman Mills, right on
40
Union Ave there.
Yeah.
Oh, total.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, total.
So I sold furniture there.
Yeah.
I remember that. I don't remember that store though.
And then a buddy of mine, my best friend actually, he was my manager there. He said, Ali, he goes, I need to make more money. And he goes, I'm going to call my boy Dave across the street at Nissan, 46. So ended up going there. The interview maybe lasted a couple of minutes, and then he was supposed to call me a couple of days later, never called me. And then I ended up calling him, and he goes, no, I've just been so busy, come down. So then Nissan 46 was the first place I started selling cars, and everything was history from there. I mean, I learned probably a lot of the bad side and the good side of the business there. And then going to the next place was a salesman, maybe 3 months, and they promoted me to finance manager from there, desk manager, and then I became a GSM later on.
Okay. You said you had a question. Liz?
Yeah. So what would be your dream dealership to work for? If you had to pick any car sales place or any
Okay.
car brand to sell.
So they're
What
all
would
a
you work?
cash cow, if you want to be honest.
Right.
They're all a cash cow. If you have the opportunity to own any dealership, you should take it. But right now I'm at GMC and I love the product a lot. But I've also, my kids always make fun of me. They're like, oh yeah, that's the best new car, right? Because I worked at Ford and it was the best car.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is the
Yeah.
best. Well, look at these Fords, And then when I worked at Nissan, it was like, nothing's better than the Maxima. So
This
like,
why nobody fuck with car salesmen, but
yeah.
so my son's like, let me guess, GMC's the
You
new,
gotta
the
be able to
new,
sell
the new,
that product.
the best, right? And but I said honestly, it really is. Like I looked at because
It's always gonna be funny.
I seen Ford's quality and I thought it was fantastic. And I was at Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. They're a little bit whatever. They're
Yeah.
kind of men's and men's.
Stella now.
And the GMC, they really make a good product. I'd have to say out of those three, right, the big threes, so to speak, I honestly think GMC makes a really good product.
I think
Okay,
out of
talk to
every
him.
car, that's the car that I least know about. GMC
yeah, it's an
for some
older
reason.
car business. That's why.
Oh, okay.
But they've been modernizing
yeah,
their
I've been seeing
Buicks.
it.
Oh, they're really
Come
nice.
through, pull up. I
Yeah,
just
but
drove your
which
car here. You
brand?
need a new car.
What was
Be
that?
quiet.
I ain't gonna lie,
Which
but Buick
brand
got a
did you say that you
reputation.
were-
I like GMC is what we sell.
No, which one would you
Oh,
want to
which
work
one would I
at?
pick? So
Yeah.
I'll take GMC if they give it to me,
What?
Yeah, I'll take a GMC all day.
Okay.
So, because it's really not about, and my son thinks this too, my daughter thinks this, they think it's the Porsche, and you're going to make $1 million because you sell a Porsche. It doesn't work that way. It's the
Their
profit
margin.
it's the profit
Yeah,
margins that are in
yeah.
it. So it doesn't really matter. I could sell a $30,000 car and make the same amount of money as I did selling a $150,000 car. So it doesn't matter. It's the art of it and what you're doing.
So how do you sell, this question probably for both of y'all, how do you sell a car that you know is only good for luxury, like for just a luxury feeling? Like how do you sell a Maybach to someone?
So you're not.
You
so
sell
sorry.
them. You sell
The
the
lifestyle.
status. Exactly, the lifestyle. You,
So it depends on the customer. You don't feel like you could just sell that car to anyone.
no,
No, you could sell that car to anyone if they had the funds for it. But, what he's saying is correct. So when you're selling a Bentley to somebody, you're not going to, they're not concerned with.
the price.
Yeah,
Or the,
that's not the price. So what you're talking about is the options and what options he's looking for and what he wants in it. And then that's what you're really just building his art piece, right?
Okay.
Of what he wants. So it's really not about the price on that. Maybe on a pre-owned end it might be because you have somebody that wants one, you know what I mean,
But he
and
can't really
wants,
afford
and
a new
wants to
one.
get in it, you know what I mean, somehow, some way. But when it comes to a luxury car, you're really you're talking about the vision for them. You're going to look great in this car. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You know what I mean? Like you're definitely talking about how he's going to look in it, and then
Yeah.
obviously the options and what it can do for him, right? Massaging seats, air cooled seats, whatever,
Yeah.
right? The stars on the hood, on the.
Yeah.
If you're a bachelor,
But you're not talking about the car itself, right? You're not talking about like.
So, well, I mean, my style, and I think
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah,
Like,
I
is there
think
a
that-
style that you like?
I think
fall
that
into?
car sales, well, sales in general, this is the only thing I've ever sold. But I think it's going more in this direction where the customer is equipped with the internet, so they already know about the car. The customer, basically, you're asking questions to probe where they're at in their buying process. You don't want to say, what's your budget? But they're going to let you know through talking to them. You're
Yeah.
not selling somebody with bad credit a Maybach. It's impossible.
Yeah.
You figure out where they are and you put them inside
Give
of the
them
right
their
car.
options, yeah.
Exactly.
Unless they have half down, you know what I mean? Because that's the truth, right? So if you're selling a Maybach, it's 160 grand. I'm only making up
You got
numbers.
80,000.
He's got 80 grand down. You're gonna get them bought. You could have a 400 credit score. I'll get them bought.
Can
But
you tell me something that?
when you were asking the question, I want to
Go
finish on that note of how do you know how to sell. So it's the person, person you're in front of. So I don't know if anybody knows this and if everybody needs to hear this. There's 16 different personalities.
Talk to 'em.
That's
Wow.
it.
Oh, in the mic.
We have 8 billion people on this earth, and there's only 16 different personalities. That's it.
Wow.
So if you learn those 16 different personalities, just like you might be more prone to something that looks nicer or whatever. The other one might be more prone to
Practical.
the safety. The other one might be, but it's all based on their personality. So as long as you can gauge their personality, you're going to be able to gauge how to sell them. Absolutely.
Oh.
16
They
different
equipped you
personalities.
with the knowledge. You asked the questions and they equipped you with the knowledge on how to sell them a car.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, God made us, right? So there's a blueprint to all of it, and he doesn't have a million different personalities. There's only 16.
Right.
You know, there's only certain DNA structure. There's only certain, and that's it. So
Yeah.
no matter how many we have, 8 billion people, there's only 16 different personalities. I don't know if you've ever noticed this when you talk to somebody that might be, oh my God, she's just like my best friend. She's exactly like my best friend. It's because she is. She has that personality. It's the same personality.
Yeah.
So you'll see the people you click with and don't click with, right?
true.
And you'll notice that, and you'll see that in time. I had a friend that God rest his soul. He passed away last year. He was young, a year younger than me, so he was 46. But his personality was, I loved his personality, right? He had a great personality, very outgoing. Later on in life, when I turned 40 and I worked as a GM in Newburgh at a Nissan store, Thruway Nissan, there was a finance manager that was exactly the
Just like him.
same. And he was Russian. The other kid was Arabic. The same person. So it's literally, you're going to notice it as you get older. You're going to notice there's only a few different personalities out there.
So there's one question that I want to ask specifically about the process of selling a car. How do you deal with somebody that has a terrible credit score and they want like the most expensive shit, and they know they got a bad credit score?
Money down.
So money down, and if they don't, it's going to come back to reality. But at the same time,
Reality.
no. What happens is a lot of people don't come in like that. To be honest,
They come in with delusions.
They're no, they don't. But when they do come in and they're at a GMC and they want the Denali versus the elevation, for
Yeah.
instance, right? We still might make the Denali a possibility, but it depends on how much he has down. Like I said, if he's got a 480 credit score, but he's got 70 grand down cash or whatever, then you're going to be able to get that bought. Why? Because the bank's in a great position, and the structure of the deal is perfect. So even if they repo,
They still gonna make
they
the
won.
money. Yeah.
They won. They're going to get that car back and
And
sell
sell it again. Yeah, that makes sense.
It doesn't, But if they're putting zero down and you're putting them into that car, it would never happen.
So look,
Yeah.
if you got a bad credit score and you want that fucking demon, bring your life savings.
So
Exactly.
what's the minimum amount that you think the average person that's going to buy a car needs to have in order to be guaranteed a car, to leave with a car?
Oh, to actually live without a car without
Yeah.
even looking at a credit score? If you have 50% down, I'm going to get you blocked.
So there's no number. It's just the percentage of the however much the car is.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get 50%, you're getting blocked.
Yo, come
Okay.
on, push his mic a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
My bad.
Yeah, you could.
I want to stay on personalities.
My bad.
So, being a veteran GM, you've said Nissan, you're at GMC now.
I was at Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Hyundai.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
All right. So, you've been in the trenches and you know how to manage people. I want to know more about that experience of managing people, because I've worked at plenty jobs and I used to just be like, I hate this nigga. He's my manager. He always blah blah.
Right.
You're managing different personalities. I know we got all 16 personalities in our one dealership
Yeah,
right now.
Absolutely.
So how do you navigate that?
So I'll tell you what it is. You're not supposed to, there's managers that I grew up with, right, that they would only do it their way, and you had to adjust the way they did it, right? Which is okay. Obviously, you have to have guidelines or at least,
Baseline.
policies in place,
Yeah.
right? But when it comes to people, you got to remember, not everybody's you.
Talk to 'em.
You cannot expect somebody to adapt to you. That's why you're in the position that you're at.
Right.
You have to adapt to them. So, if, and that's how you coach. You don't manage. You're just
Right.
coaching. You're leading.
And lead,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're not, if that's the type of guy that he is, that's the type of person. And again, I gauge the personality. So I've known this for a few years now. So that's why I think I'm able to connect with you the way I have, connect with Ehab the way I have. And I hate to say his name online, but
Shout out Ehab.
yeah, Evans.
Yeah, Evans.
But the bottom line is that there's certain personalities that you have to deal with, so that are totally different, and you're different completely from Ehab, right? But I get along with both of you, right? So and I know what you can do, I know what he can do, and I know what to strengthen, what he needs to strengthen. I know what needs you to strengthen, right?
Absolutely.
And I really don't talk about the things, your weaknesses, too much. That's another thing that you don't
Right.
do. You know his weaknesses, and you teach him how to overcome those weaknesses. You don't put him down for it.
Right.
You don't constantly point them out.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
you don't. Blameless problem solving.
I like that.
All right, that's what needs to happen.
Some of my shorties need to learn that right there.
And you have to care. So you have to care like it's yours. Your office is your dealership.
Right.
Your office is your dealership. You have to care like it's yours. Everything that you do or that you say has a repercussion after it. You have to know that what you say, believe it or not, and hopefully down the line, it doesn't come up that it's a lie, right? You're not supposed to lie. Tell the truth. You know what I mean? And that's really, the biggest thing that I struggled with in the beginning is I thought I had to get these people like, ooh, I think I got them. You know what I mean? And trying to guess, but no, it's really not about that. It's, you just have to funnel down all the things that their objections are and funnel down into one and to come out with a solution.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, when they can see it, just like you can feel a good person or a bad person. I don't like
Yeah.
him, right? You can feel if you have somebody good in front of you on both ends. So
Yeah.
once they realize that, and they realize you're trying to help them, that's all that matters. The price is really the least of the issue.
Is that
Okay.
what
You wanna know the
separates a
truth.
great salesman from an average one?
Yes. So someone with raw talent's not going to gauge what he's doing. He's just doing his heart out, and you could tell he's got drive and everything else. He has to be tamed though in the other things that he does, not realizing that they're wrong, and he could do more. You know what I mean? Then there's others that don't get it quite right in the beginning. They need a little bit more. I had a manager that he didn't get it when he was a salesperson until 5 years later. He didn't understand it till 5 years later. Then there's some people that get it right away. You know what I mean? Within a year, right? And then there's people within months, right? They were selling cell phones, now they're selling cars. So it's okay. It's the same thing almost, right? But it's really about the customer. It's about their experience, and it's about making sure that they're comfortable with whatever they're doing.
Why do
Right.
you think car dealerships have such a bad reputation, and do you want to clear up the reputation now?
Yeah, so the reputation it precedes itself, right? I hate to say it that way. It's like anything else, right? Like cops, for instance, they have a bad rap too. There's bad apples. There's bad apples in everything.
Everywhere.
Bad apples in everything. So when you go to a dealership and you see that there's bad apples and you don't like the way you're feeling, you need to try somewhere else, because there are dealerships that do it the right way. And the way I do it is I do completely the opposite of what the car business is.
That's why I like working for him.
So I do completely the opposite. If that's what they do, that's not what I'm doing. And guess what? That's what's going to bring them back, because everybody else is doing that, and they're going to be like, I'm going to stick out. I like Ali because he didn't do it that way. He didn't treat me like this and blah, blah, blah. So I try to do the opposite of what the car business is. And I try to accommodate. I try to accommodate. I try to ask you if you want some coffee. I try to make sure that you're comfortable. I want to know what I have to do to fix your, because a lot of the times it's an insurmountable problem to them. They're over miles. They don't have the money to pay for the lease now. They're
Yeah.
30,000 miles over. You have to figure out how to get them into their position to get them out of it. Not to just say, oh, this is too much. She's got to go.
I
You know what
feel
I mean?
like-
And you throw her out. I like a challenge.
Yeah.
And I want the challenge, because if I do that challenge and I accomplish that challenge, she is only coming to see me, or he is only coming to see me
Right.
after that.
I feel like a lot of people, and this is not just only derivative to the car sales business, but to any salesperson, that's why they have the bad rep. a lot of people sell they soul for the sell.
Ooh,
Yeah.
talk to him.
They sell they soul for the sale. So it's like, if you're just transparent with your customer, you might not get that sale today, but you may get that sale
Right.
later on.
Absolutely.
They're looking for the short term gain and instead of the long term gain.
Yeah.
Right. So you can make $10,000 on somebody the first time, but they're going to come out of that
And then never come back.
and never come back to you.
It's not gonna be recurring.
But if you make 2,000 on him, he's going to come back and you're going to make another 2,000 and maybe even
Or
three.
might send
For
someone
years.
else.
Yep.
For
yeah.
years and years and years.
Even their family
And they
Yeah.
know, and then at a certain point, the customer wants you to make the money. They don't want to give, and that's another
Yeah.
thing. People need to realize this, all right? Not everybody wants to give their money to you. It's because of the way you're acting and the way you're presenting yourself. Because they don't want the money in the wrong hands. They don't want their hard-earned money.
Hard
Yeah.
earned, yes.
Pause. Going into their pockets where it's going to be done for bad.
Right.
You know, so a lot of the people, they want to give their money that does have a family or does have kids they're trying to raise or does have kids trying to get to school. Not the guy that, this guy looks like he's partying tonight. You know what I mean? And, you know, people do gauge it that way. People that have money, they are careful of who they give their money to.
Absolutely.
Because they want it to be, you know, handled correctly.
I
'Cause
think I
I'll
look
s-
for that when I go in a dealership
I'll s-
too. I'm like looking for who to like
I'll say
who
this.
I
wanna
feel
give the money
comfortable with.
back,
Yeah,
yeah.
like who I want to give the sell to, basically
Yeah,
too. Like
I'll say this: a lot of people, specifically, they're going to spend that money regardless, whether it's you or somebody else.
Right.
You're just that guide person that's going to get them to the product.
Yeah.
So why not be the best person for it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. And sometimes I'll tell people, if you try to keep somebody in a dealership, I try not to do that. If they want to leave, let them leave. I want them to go somewhere else and experience something different. Because guess what?
Come
It's
right
not
back.
gonna
Probably
be
gonna
us.
come back to me.
It ain't gonna be us.
Yeah.
And
You
the
know?
good thing is it's already kind of pre-sold because they're coming to a car dealer to buy a car, right? They're not coming for no
Everybody's a
reason.
buyer,
Like if
right?
you come into a sneaker store, we know you're coming to buy a sneaker, so it's just about really
The
closing
most
it, right?
emotional people
Closing the sale.
buy cars. The ones that come in and say, "I'm just looking." Da, 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 da. Once you break that wall down, they're buying a car. The reason why they're saying, "I'm just looking" and all that because they don't trust
It's a
themselves.
defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not even themselves. They
They-
also don't trust the people because they're just coming
Absolutely,
in.
yeah.
Or the
So-
people around them sometimes. Sometimes when you buy a car, everybody else not in the dealership,
Yeah.
like around you, make you feel like, why did you buy that car? Why did you spend
That's
that money?
true.
You
That's
feel
true,
like,
yeah.
dang, and
Oh.
I'm so happy with my car.
Yeah,
but
and another thing, yeah. So when you buy a car, the family member that you're going to talk to is going to say they got a better deal. Don't believe it. That's literally what they do, and then you feel remorseful.
Okay.
Don't do it.
how do you guys
So-
feel when you selling a car to somebody, and then like the insurance, because they can't leave without the insurance, right?
We make them do the insurance right
Yeah.
there.
We call the insurance company right there, and we add it to the policy right then and there. If it's
Has that
closed,
ever
we have
been any-
temporary insurance. We have
Has that
actual-
ever been any problems?
I haven't been
'Cause,
in the
like,
business long enough.
For
to answer
example,
that.
I went to go get a car one day, and I'm just thinking, I didn't have a car for a long time, and when I got there, I just knew the insurance would be around this much. So when I got there, we signed up, and it was completely different for the fact that I didn't have insurance for a few months,
Right.
and I didn't know that affects your.
It does if you don't have insurance.
Or-
yeah, like,
you
and I'm
call
like,
up-
I just didn't have a car. I'm like, what was
Or
I
you
supposed
call
to
up
do?
and they be like, "Yeah, you hit like 5 Bentleys previously."
No, they just said that it's been over
It's been
5
over
months
5
or.
years or a year
It was like
since
5
you've had it,
months. It was like 5-6 months. They said it'd been over it, so it
Mm-hmm.
was like a higher fee. I had to put more down, and it was almost to the point where I wasn't gonna get the car because I'm like, I thought I had, just enough to do what I needed to do, but
So there's enough to be said about it, right? Where you can help them through that, because if someone's coming in and they're worried about what the insurance can be, worried about what the payment's going to be, then you know how to gauge, you know how to handle that customer. Okay, let's do this then. This is the car that you want. Okay, let's call the insurance company. Let's get a
Let's
quote
see
now,
first. Yeah,
so you can
right.
kind of see, and then we'll base it off of that, and then we'll try to do it.
Yeah.
Most of the time, though, they've done that work, like Kamal said. They've done that work already. They already know this is the car they want because they're on our online showrooms. It's not like before where everything was a brick and mortar. They come to the showroom, they have to see the car first. They look at everything online, and they know that's the car that they want. So they already call insurance, get the quote ahead of time, and then they come in, and then they try to figure out, okay, I need to get it at $450 so I could afford the $250 a month in insurance and make it $700. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that, that's the way that happens. And we also have temporary insurance. If you don't have insurance, we will give you
okay.
7 days insurance
okay,
for you to get your insurance.
okay, that's good.
You know?
Y'all want to stay in the car industry? I got other questions too.
Yeah, I had another one, but it kind of slipped my mind.
And I would say this too, especially my car buying history. I mean, I've only ever had Audis, right? but I've went to BMW dealers and went to Mercedes dealers, stuff like that. And then you see and even I briefly worked in a Range Rover.
Okay.
So I could see the difference of the atmosphere when it comes to dealerships. Like
Yes.
your Honda dealer or your Hyundai dealer or your Nissan is going to be a completely different experience from your Mercedes, your Porsches, your Lamborghinis. Like you go in the service center
If
in the
you get
room.
it
I feel like
if you get it
as
from
you
the
go
exact
up in
dealer, too.
luxury, it's more and more about people. I don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been in the industry long enough, but I think once you get to a certain tax bracket, it's more about how you treat the person.
Yes, and
No.
that's what I was gonna say about the environment. So, like, say like a Hyundai, if you're sitting there, you're getting your service done, whatever have you. The cafe section in a Honda is completely different from a Range Rover.
Right.
Like you get you're damn near like at the mall.
No, literally, because
Absolutely.
I've had Mercedes for the past few years, and like even when you drive up, there's like an iPad. They bring you water. It's a fancy water. They're like almost your feet is like not even touching the ground. They're like, do you need anything? Like, okay, yeah. I think they really take care of like the person and make you feel
Your clientele.
Yeah,
You know
so
your
I think
clientele
it's
is-
all
a certain
about
way.
the client experience. It's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I think if you can do that, whether it's
anywhere.
a Chevy, a Hyundai, a Kia, all the way up to the Range Rovers, Bentleys, GMCs, right? It's the experience that they get. But it's more so of an experience that as far as the Mercedes and stuff like that, it's not just the experience, it's the expectations that they want.
Yeah, I was gonna say
They
that.
expect to be handled a certain way and be
Exactly.
talked to a certain way.
Exactly.
Because they can pay for it, right? Or they can buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say Bentley, for instance, because not everybody, in a Mercedes dealership, I guess most of them will be able to afford it, right? That come in. But some of them try to get a C300, whatever, right? That's maybe out of their budget
That's
and they
what
try
I
to get
have,
into it.
C300.
But they do treat them differently because they want to be treated differently. You know what I mean? Because again, they want to give you, they're paying $150,000, $200,000 for this car. They better be treated a certain way.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
of course.
So at the dealership, you have been mentioning that you wanted to talk about food.
Oh, yes,
What's
food.
going on with the food, the politics right now. I don't have a question, but is there a statement that you want to make, or is it like what did you mean by you wanted to talk about food? I felt like you were talking about what's inside the food.
Yeah, so just food itself, right? And they're trying to make some changes now with this guy, Robert Kennedy Jr.
Red 40.
Make America healthy again, right? MAHA. But this has been going on for a long time. And they used to have, basically, it's something called GRASS, I think, right? Where it's a standard where that was the loophole to do anything you wanted. So this standard was like, okay, we're going to presume it's safe until it's presumed that it's not.
That's crazy.
Now in Europe,
That's crazy.
yeah, so he's going to get that removed now. Now
about money.
they have to do. Now they have to do what
Tests
I think.
and-
Hopefully they get there, and I'm not saying this has been done or not, but in Europe they test the chemicals until it is safe, and then they
Then
put it into
in
the
there.
food.
That's crazy as fuck.
So
Yeah,
you know,
let's put anything in there, and then 40 years down the line, when it grows another arm on your body,
Out your back.
yeah,
That's
then,
why-
then we'll take it
well,
off the
don't eat
market.
that no more.
Well, that's why you wonder that there's a lot of chronic disease. Chronic disease is just something that's caused by something that it's not something
food.
that's hereditary. It's chronic based on what we're doing to ourselves or
Absolutely.
what they're doing to ourselves. But if you look at McDonald's here in America and you go to McDonald's in France, it's different.
Yeah.
Different
Yeah.
ingredients.
Do you
Even
got
on the
any-
back of like ketchup, even like just the
Ketchup.
ingredients,
Yeah, ketchup.
condiments
I mean,
in
you
our
could
grocery
see it.
stores.
You could see it in all right, if you take, and I'm going to go a little bit clinical here, but if you could take the chronic diseases that are rampant in our country
And
and you
nowhere
put
else.
it into anywhere else,
it's
you could see that
non-existent.
the common denominator is the food.
Our
Yes.
stuff is banned
Specifically.
over there.
Exactly. Most
Yeah,
of it.
like banned is crazy.
Most of it. Like
But
there's
they
a whole
sell-
list.
But they sell the same stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have any
And it's made by the same people.
facts?
So that you got Cheetos made in Europe, and they use paprika to make them orange.
Yeah.
Here they put that
Dye.
Red
dye
dye,
in it.
yeah.
And this dye is the ones they're putting in the real cheesy ones now with the
Yeah, the
flaming and all
red,
that stuff.
the hot-
That stuff is terrible.
It's carcinogens.
and it's really bad for you. And again, as a kid, I think it was a little bit cleaner when I was eating, McDonald's and all that.
Yeah,
and I did. I'm
wasn't
not
that-
perfect,
yeah, yeah.
guys.
It's just
I
gotten
still
worse,
have
yeah.
sugar, but I try to have sugar cane. I'm not trying to have high fructose syrup and
Right,
all the
yeah.
other stuff that they're
You
putting
know what
in
it is
there.
too? There's two things in the food industry that made it worse. One, especially with America, that they try to preserve it longer, so that's one issue. And then the second issue is the addiction part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's exactly correct. They're not putting in processed foods to protect you. They're putting So put it this
keep
way:
you
if you're
coming.
jabbing your arm with some heroin, right? Just think about it the same way, except it's your mouth.
Yeah,
And
'cause
then it's exactly the
And
same
you
thing.
just keep going back.
And then it does what does this do after you run out? You start getting sick. What does that do? It makes you extremely hungry. It's not the same hunger that you actually get. It's actually a fake hunger, but it's so polarizing. You're like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. Well, I gotta eat. My daughter, a lot of people like this. You can't even, and you go eat again.
'Cause
That's
there's
what
one-
they're doing. They're making you go back.
So there's one thing inside of food which they say like this is like it's processed cocaine or crack basically is the sugar. And there's certain foods that have so much sugar in them that don't even need to have sugar in it because
Yeah,
sugar is a
just making it-
dopamine factor.
So
It makes you feel
sugar,
good.
in its purest form, or in the form that they're even using it, is 10 times more dangerous than cocaine.
Yep.
And we're giving it to our kids. Mm-hmm. And then they have with kids, because I know I just went through this with my youngest son, which I didn't really pay attention when I was younger with my other kids because I didn't know. But I lost my point. Damn.
Sugar.
You're saying the sugar? Yeah, it was 10 times as.
Yeah, more than cocaine, right?
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, here's my point. Sorry, guys, had a blank.
No.
It's sugar.
Yeah. So,
You need some sugar.
as an infant, they tell the kids or they tell the parents that he should have 10% added sugar. Why? You don't need sugar to live. You need salt to live.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need sugar to live. So why are they telling you to put 10% added sugar in it? For what? It's okay. It's allowed. Doesn't make any sense. That's why everybody has ADHD. All the kids have ADHD. That's why all the old people have dementia and Alzheimer's. That's why. It's from the sugar. It's all diabetes is from sugar. It's not. You're not born with it. You are born with one type of diabetes. The other type, which everybody has mostly, is the type 2 or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's all from eating sugar. You know, Irv Gotti died from that. That's what he died from. You know,
Rest in
because he
peace,
wouldn't
Irv Gotti.
stop. He wouldn't alter his diet,
diet,
even though he had a stroke 2 years ago, and then he had another one.
So
You know,
there's one thing that I'm gonna say, and hopefully I don't get canceled for it. But you see how you say like building the addiction from when you're starting young is the sugar, because you look at the
That's exactly right.
how do I say?
Cereal.
Okay, that's part
Terrible
of it.
for you.
So look at the start of your day as a kid, and what they
Sugar.
orange juice, all the added sugars.
Apple juice. Apple juice has so much sugar in it.
The
Added
cereal, everything is just sugar based. So of
It
course
gets you addicted young.
young, yes.
Correct.
What made you start paying attention to the quality of the food?
My wife. My wife is really, she's been trying to go, we've been doing it for many years, but we're learning as we go. And now we're really into it,
Okay.
We would always try, we switched our kids, like we did organic, like baby food. But then we realized they don't need baby food, man. My youngest son never had baby food. He never had baby food.
What?
Nope. He's been eating vegetables, steak, eggs, all fruits.
wow.
He does not eat anything like a baby. He doesn't even act like a baby. Why? Because we don't treat him like a baby.
Talk to him.
They're teaching you to
Yeah,
treat him like
you're
a baby. Oh, he's a
right.
kid. He's gonna. And then they tell you, oh, he's gonna wait until he goes to school. He'll learn. No, you want them teaching him.
No.
You know,
You're right.
you have
No.
to teach him.
You're
And
right.
my son now, my youngest son, he's amazing. Mashallah, he's amazing. And you ask him about McDonald's. Yesterday his uncle came to tell you a story. I wasn't there, but my wife was telling me. My uncle came and he's like, hey guys, you guys going to go to McDonald's or Wendy's? And my son's 3 years old. He goes, McDonald's, that's poison. And he goes, no
right.
Wendy's,
So
that's
smart.
poison.
He's right.
And he told them on, and he's like, well, where else? Taco Bell, poison. All of them, poison. He won't eat it.
Yeah.
And we tell him from now. But that if you teach them the right way, they're going to do it the right way
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Because you don't understand, like a lot of people don't get it. It's like it's easier to teach you when you're younger than when you're older.
But you have to have the habit first, because
Yeah.
even now, me having a
Yeah.
See
kid,
it.
I want her to eat certain stuff. Like even when I see her eating candy all the time, or not all the time, but even
Yeah.
when I see her eating candy, I'm like, I can't tell her not to eat candy. If I eat, I
Yeah.
love Reese's. Like I literally will go through withdrawals not eating a Reese. Like I have to have
there's
a
a
Reese
reason for
every
that.
day.
yeah, it's a
Like,
reason for everything.
yeah,
'Cause
I
that's not
know.
pure
It's
either.
like,
Yeah.
but when I get mad at her when she's aggravated, she can't have something. I'm like, why you? And I'm like, okay, they learn it from us.
It
like,
is.
You know,
So
they get the habit from us.
absolutely. So me and my wife, do I once in a while, have something I'm not supposed to? Yes, at a restaurant I'll have dessert and stuff. You know what I mean? But it's once in a while. But Reese's Pieces, any of that stuff, we don't need any of that
Yeah.
stuff anymore. Because and think about it. Just think about it. Why do they do the Halloween? Why do they do the candy?
Everything is
They do it to perpetuate you to go buy more after
It's
that, and then your
disgusting
body
to even
needs
think
it.
about.
Your body
Especially
needs
when you're
it.
guilty of
it's
it.
all
Falling for it.
done on purpose.
Yeah.
So
All of it. And I will get
I
canceled for
can't
that
even
too.
trust the
All
vegetables
done on
now.
purpose.
Like
If you
the
don't believe this is
fruit-
the Matrix, you're wrong.
Talk
The
to 'em.
fruit, the vegetables, like I don't even really trust that in the supermarkets too. The fruit doesn't taste the
It
same
has
to
to
me.
be all organic.
The vegetables, if it's not fresh, even now the fresh seem like a
I
little
learned that when I
suspect a
worked
little
at
bit.
Whole
And then
Foods.
even that too is like the fact that everything that is supposed to be good for you costs a lot more.
Yes,
so
they make it harder or further out.
But let me explain something. We spend more money on food, right? And it's worth it.
Of course,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
worth
yeah.
it.
Spend your money on it.
Yeah,
Because
and you
it-
feel
because
better
think about
after
it.
you
You're
eat
gonna
it.
you're gonna pay it. You're gonna pay it some way.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
either
You're
you're gonna
gonna
pay
give
it in
it
hospital
somewhere
bills
else.
or you're gonna pay it in your food.
Yes.
Yeah, just put it
Yeah.
in the budget.
Yeah.
And we do Whole Foods, right? We do Whole Foods. We used to be like real advocates of Whole Foods, but Amazon bought Whole Foods, so now it's changing as well. And there's a lot of stuff there that's not healthy for you.
Talk to 'em.
So
Farmers market.
I'm starting to think they just put organic on like
anything.
anything
no,
now.
so there is some organic. You just got to be careful, but you got to find the organic stuff. It's always got to be the fruit's got to be organic. Why? Because they spray the stuff in the fields and all that stuff. So
pesticide, yep.
you don't
Yeah.
want it to be non-organic because
I'm-
they'll spray the crap out
Yeah,
of
we
that
just
thing.
gotta educate ourselves
I
because
remember
we'll really
my,
never know.
when I
until
was
we-
in high school. My anatomy and physiology teacher, I forgot his name. But he used to go directly to the source. He said, I don't go to no supermarket. I go, if I'm gonna get chicken, I get a whole chicken. I get a pound of beef, and I'll go to New York every month, get my stuff, come back home,
Serious
freeze
about
it.
that shit,
And
yeah.
Do you
if
think
you
it's
seen
enough
him, he's
chickens out
chiseled.
here? Like we make a lot of chicken.
So
Do you
it's-
think all this chicken is real? Like
Yeah,
there's
so
no way.
if you go to the right place, right? If you're getting it from the store, they're getting it from Purdue and they're spraying and they're feeding them all certain things. But me, so we-
Chicken over there with a
to
whole
go towards
Steroids.
what I was saying, we still go to Whole Foods. We get certain things.
chicken over there bench pressing and shit.
Yeah, so we only get certain foods from Whole Foods. We only get certain foods from Whole Foods, which is fruit and some other things. When it comes to the meat now, I either go to the halal place in Patterson, which is shout out to Brothers Quality. It's
Brothers.
my brother-in-law's.
Yeah, shout out to Brothers.
No, my cousin's son-in-law owns that place. So shout out
to
to
Brothers.
him.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, they're awesome. And then also we go to an Amish farm in Pennsylvania. So the Amish, everything is natural. Everything is, and it's like when I tell you that the egg is orange, the yolk is orange.
Right.
It's supposed to be
yeah.
orange,
or brown
not
eggs.
yellow.
Nice brown.
It's not supposed to be yellow. The egg is not supposed to be yellow. It's supposed to be orange. So
Oh,
when you
wow.
crack it open, it's supposed to be orange, not yellow. Anywhere you go, it's going to be completely yellow. So we get all our eggs from there. We get all our meat from there. Chicken, whole chicken, and it's fresh and it's good. Speaking about chicken, the chicken, which everybody loves, and I used to love chicken too. But they fill it with too much sodium. They do a lot of stuff to it, and that's why men get man boobs. That's why they get man boobs.
Wow.
Yeah.
They don't get it. They're not understanding
that
it.
up.
So the bottom line is that you stop eating chicken unless it's real from a farm, and then you got to eat organic steak. It's got to be about organic. You got to have organic steak or from the Amish, and you're supposed to have a lot of steak. They told you that red meat was bad for you because they wanted to give you something else. They told you that that's why you're getting high cholesterol, and that's a lie, a complete lie. You're supposed to have the fat in the steak.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
good for
steak
you.
is
It's supposed
probably
to be a
one of the
little red,
best
right?
things
Why
that
do
you can
they
eat,
teach
right?
us, like, as black people? Why do
Money.
they teach us to cook it so?
Money.
Yeah. So
The steak should not be
Well,
cooked well
yeah.
done.
So
It
no.
should not be cooked
So
like that.
here's the answer to that too. You can
be
cook it well done.
medium
You can
or
cook it well
medium
done. It's
Don't
okay
do
to
it.
eat well done because you know it's been fully cooked and all the stuff is out of it.
It's
Let's just
harder
say
to
it's bad.
digest,
Yeah.
though. It's harder
Don't
to
do it,
break
though,
down
'cause-
once it's
At that
No,
point,
not
you
at
might
all.
as well
It's hard to
have
break
beef
down when it's
jerky.
rare.
really.
Yeah, it's hard to
You
break
eat
down when
steak
it's
well
rare.
done. That's
When it's-
crazy.
When the steak is well, but listen to me, if you're buying steak just anywhere, you're going to the supermarket, you need to, and you're not buying organic, you need to well done that steak. Because why? It's
Gotta
going to
cook
take
it all
all
out,
the stuff
yeah.
out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but if you're buying a real steak, yeah, you can go medium well. You know, I medium rare, I'm not too into anymore. But you could eat raw steak, honestly,
yeah.
and it's good for you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I'm not advocating for that. But medium well is good, and that's all I have. So once I switched my diet, I lost about 40 pounds, close to 40 pounds. I was
Talk to
like
'em.
220 pounds when I started this trek about 2 years
Guy
ago.
starts in the kitchen, not in the gym.
So you don't
Talk to
eat
'em.
3 times a day. You
Yeah.
do not eat 3 times a day. You only wake up, and then after you perform some duties and achieve something for yourself, and then as a human, because being a cave, what we are, humans, cavemen, okay, what happens? You go out, you go look for your food. You have to work, and then your body
But to bring
says-
it back.
Now you
That's
bring
exactly
it back.
how
and
I
now
live.
Now you've achieved something. Now your body says it's time to reward yourself. And now you eat. You don't just eat to eat. You don't wake up to just eat, and
Yeah.
especially sugar, pancakes, and all that other shit. You know, you eat once a day, 24 hours, once every 24 hours. You will see that I eat twice a day. I'll eat at 9 a.m. and then I eat at 12, and then I don't eat the rest of the day, right? But that's still during that fast. So I basically fast, and you're supposed to. You just drink water. That's what made me lose all the weight, and I don't gain weight. So now when I go eat,
Right, just shredding everything.
I can go eat.
Nothing sticking.
I can go eat. I can eat big. I can go on the Saturday and eat a huge dinner, and it does nothing to me.
So
Yeah.
I would say this: the reason why we have the obesity rates that we have right now at a 70% clip.
Damn.
Kids.
It's crazy.
Kids are at a 70%
Kids.
clip.
70%
Did you know that?
clip.
And I'm saying it. Y'all fat.
So I would
It's
say this.
obese. It's fat.
So-
we got to start getting back to telling people what it is. You're fat.
So I'll say this. So they say, have 3 meals a day, do all this stuff. Cool, right? You can still have 3 meals a day, but the problem is that nobody has enough activity in the day to have those 3 meals. Because, like you said, the fasting period, if you eat between 9 and 12, throughout the whole day, you're doing something to burn off those previous meals, those calories.
Right.
So if you're burning 3,000 calories and you're consuming 3,000 calories, it's a wash.
Sure, it is a wash, but you're supposed to burn your fat.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do. So when you're working and you're doing stuff, you want it to eat all the
fat.
fat out and use it as energy. Okay, and then also when you're fasting, it creates, like my wife did. God bless her. I think she did 5 days fasting, just water.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Was
Wow.
she cranky and like mean? I hear people
she
get
was
like really
better. Better. So the first day, the second day, after the
First
second
3
day,
days,
Yeah,
she
like
was
the
love-
first 3 days. That's what I'm
not
talking
even
about.
the second,
People
yeah,
usually
and then
get-
she was real bad, but not bad, but like, not feeling well, right?
Yeah.
But that's because all the that's because
Right,
all the
just
crap coming out of your
detoxing, just-
system. So she did 5 days, and she's feeling great.
That's a
And what
long
it does
time.
is it kills all the bad cells. It throws out all the bad cells that are in your body and creates brand new cells for your body, and that's what you need.
Because I mean, you
Speaking
just take it as a basis. What they say, you can go a lot longer without food, but you can't last without water. So
Talk to
how's
him.
that's not within the fast?
So what do you mean she didn't feel well? Like, was it like stomach aches of like hunger?
No, it just felt really down
had
and weak, and because all this crap was coming out of her. But the next day, the third day, she was absolutely glowing.
Yeah.
So
really was.
speaking
I
of
wanna
your
try
wife,
it.
we try our best here to speak on relationships, dating, marriage, all of that stuff. As a married man, give us 3 keys that keeps your marriage together.
I'm going to go over that, but I want to talk about the food and one last concept, and we'll talk about
Gotcha.
that. I'm not a pro in any way. I'm just telling you what I did. Do your research. Make sure you do your research. And listen, don't look at the first 5 things that come up on Google. You need to dig deeper.
Talk
Because
to
the
'em.
first 5 things are controlled by somebody, and they're telling you that's wrong. And also, I have to say this last thing. They'll tell you, they say black seed oil, the black seed oil, which is great, by the way. Look it up. It's really great for you, okay? But black seed oil, they'll tell you the benefits of it, right, when you look at it online. And then they'll tell you, but this is just said, and it's not supported by the FDA, blah, 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 blah. Anytime it tells you that, that's the one you need to go get. When they tell you that it's not been this and it's not been that, or it hasn't been tested,
wow.
you need to go after that one. Don't think the opposite. If they
You
tell
don't
you,
wanna
if
trust the
They
FDA
tell
is
you
what you're
red
saying.
meat is bad, eat red meat. Okay.
Talk to 'em.
If they tell you that this is bad, go the opposite direction with it. I'm telling you. And I'm not a pro, but do your research. But when it tells you that it hasn't been advocated by this, that, and the
'Cause it
third,
hasn't been
you need to
controlled.
look. You need to look deeper into that product,
Hasn't
and
been
it's probably
controlled.
good for you.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
Makes a lot of sense.
Go ahead. So 3 things that me and my wife.
to keep the
How
marriage
did,
together.
we
good
have a
at
lot
it.
of arguments
I'll tell
about
you.
marriage and dating here.
Stay together. Don't walk away. Well, it doesn't matter. Everybody fights. And if you don't fight, you're not going to become stronger. All right? So that's number 1. Number 2, she needs to care about your feelings and how you do things. And number 3, she needs to care about, or you need to care about hers the same way. That's it.
That's fair.
That's
We
all you
have a
need to
lot of
do.
arguments about feelings here. A lot of logic versus feelings. How important do you think feelings are coming from
I
a
think
man?
I think feelings are important. Number 1, but there's a sense to that. You have to have emotional intelligence though too.
Yes.
So if you don't have emotional intelligence, I'm not going to care for your feelings because everything
Talk to him.
because everything is a feeling then. It's not real.
Yeah.
Okay.
You sound like my boy
But
right
when
here.
you're talking about something where something you see somebody do, let's just say my wife does something and I don't agree with it, I won't say anything about it, but then I'll see if it happens again, and then I'll see if it happens again. Then I'll pull her to the side and say, listen, that I don't, You make me feel some type of way when you do that. And if you understand,
me
then
feel some
then
type
I
of
actually
way.
then I actually reciprocate it.
Right.
I reciprocate it. Okay, let's just say I did that to you, and then she would say, "Oh, you're right." Right. So yeah, feelings are important, but logic is more important. So
Thank
know,
you. Thank you.
He loves that.
because feelings, you're going to do something based off of feeling, and women, I'm not this.
I know we have a lot of them, right? We have a lot of emotions
So
and
women
feelings.
women
So
are
you know how
about
there's
We
16
hear it all the
personalities?
time.
They got 402
yeah,
feelings.
yeah.
Yeah, I have 500.
Women are based, and this is something I've learned too. Women are different than men. Okay, women are based on feeling and based on emotion, and they're about the moment, right? So it's about the moment for them. We are more straight lined and more logical in the way we do things. So that's why when a man cheats, okay, it's literally an activity.
Talk
We
to
still
him.
only love one person.
I ain't
I'm
say
not,
it.
and I'm not saying I advocate for that because I don't do that. But my point is, if it does happen, when a woman does it, it's a more attached thing. She actually gave herself to somebody else. It's it's different. You know what I mean? Like you guys actually have an attachment to that person, and that's why you did it.
You think all women?
All women, it's because they have an emotional, some kind of an attachment to that man or something where they actually did. We, on the other hand, will do it for the sport of it, and we still only love one person when we go home. And it's just a man-woman thing. It's not you can't change it. That's just a natural.
Yeah.
So we know when a woman cheats, it's for real. We know when the man cheats, it's really not.
Talk to him like she.
No, I just want to. I really
I'm
want
just
to
being
know.
honest. I'm being
The
honest.
only
That's-
time that you know it's real for a man is if you start supporting her. Then that's how you know
Yeah,
it's real.
spit it that
Correct.
bag. Correct.
Correct.
You tripping.
Yeah, he's
Correct.
You tripping. Okay.
But I'm just trying to be honest. That's really the honesty about it.
Do you
know?
have any advice for the generations younger than you? I know we have. I be seeing you
Absolutely.
on TikTok, and I be seeing
I
you.
do, I try.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you succeed.
I try to stay on.
So, give us some advice on dating the young people out there.
So
What you
dating.
think?
So it's
Or
okay.
let us know your role
As a role as a what?
as a husband. What is your role?
My role as a husband. I
Yeah.
go to work. I go to work. I provide for my family. I make sure that they have food, clothes, and whatever they need. And my feelings don't count.
Talk to him.
And
That's a good man, Savannah.
And I taught my son the same thing. Don't tell me you feel bad. You're going to talk to your mother. It doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter? Because you're a man. One day I'm going to be gone, and they're all going to be looking at you to do everything. You can't have feelings. The feelings you got to throw 'em out
Feelings
the
don't
window.
pay the
See?
bills, people.
Talk to him.
Well, you agree that that's a traditional way of thinking, right?
It's the only way to think. It's actually not traditional. It's godly.
Ooh, talk to him. Talk to
I like
him.
that.
And,
Yeah.
you know, they make you feel in this world that we are in, they make you feel that a woman is not a woman because they're taking care of their home and their kids and their housewives. Guess what? That's what makes you feel like a woman. That is a natural, godly thing. So you're nothing if you're not that. Do you understand? I'm not saying you
that.
shouldn't have a career. I'm not saying you shouldn't have things to strive for. But guess what? That's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that they deter you on these sites to make you think otherwise. Oh, you want to be someone, you want to be a woman? You need to go do this and not do this. But that's not what you're a woman. You were made a certain way, and you're supposed to bear children. You're supposed to take care of your children.
Right.
And it makes you feel whole when you do that. You're not going to feel whole if you don't do that. If you do it the other way. And then you're going to continue searching. And then when you continue searching, then all of a sudden you're 45 and you're waiting tables because you don't have anything anymore.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because they advocate for that same, independency.
That's all
and
BS,
all
man.
It's BS because, the thing about it like this, right? How did we get here today? If it ain't broke, don't fucking fix it.
Talk to him.
Absolutely.
But see, all right, in our heads, see how you guys say you cheat and it's kind of like a sport thing. We don't receive it that way. So that's where it goes wrong off the
No,
rip.
so I'm not saying it's correct to cheat. I'm just saying that when they do cheat, what the result of it is for them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but when
It's
we
not correct to cheat.
change, you guys are like, what? I just did that. And we're like, it's not just that simple for us.
Because you know what it is? You're not thinking in a perspective of a man. You're thinking of it for yourself.
And we're not
No, I'm
telling
just
you
thinking of
to
a
take a guy
human.
back.
Like,
I think a human.
Well, no.
No,
So
no.
when a guy cheats and the woman keeps her, let's just say that she keeps him. Okay, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
so to
no.
because of the way the man is, if you understand the man a little bit. Not to say that he's going to do that the rest of his life. You have to obviously say, hey, that's not what I'm looking for,
Yeah.
and da-da-da, let's not
Yeah.
let it happen again, because
Yeah.
we know what happens in the midst of things
Right.
and something that could happen in a moment. What kills me is in a moment, you're going to destroy your whole life. It's like my daughter, I love her to death. Moments, forget it. I got to be there an extra hour. She'll fight for an hour and a half and fight in the house and cause disruption in our house because she got home an hour earlier.
Yeah.
When it wasn't worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
So you never take a moment and destroy everything around you because of that moment. Because those moments change all the time. You're always
Yeah.
going to have the moment.
But after the guy cheats, and let's say she does take him back, the woman is not the same anymore. And then now you have the guy like
That's on her though, because
Yeah.
feeling like you're not the
if
same
you took him
anymore.
back,
Yeah, you need to be accepted of that.
exactly.
That's the difference.
What
You're
if
not
it
gonna just
happens
take 'em
again?
back.
Because I think we're so
So
scared
then if it
to
happens
let
again,
you
it's
to
an extra
agree
man.
with you guys when you say like, oh, it's just reality. Where it's just a sport. Like we can't say, you know what, you're right, because now it gives men.
No, it's not
Okay.
saying that you're right. It's just
You're
a-
not wrong. Let's
Yeah,
put
you're
it that
not-
way.
yeah,
You're
you're
not
not wrong.
wrong. What we're trying to say is that when we say it's a sport,
No, I get it. I get it 100%. But
we're not giving
they'll
our
do it
love.
again.
We're not giving our love to
Yeah.
that girl. When a girl cheats, she's giving her love to me.
yeah,
She's
one
actually
time
because she's allowing me to sleep with
Conquer
her.
her.
It's literally she's allowing her. So that's why it's different for the women and the man.
Yeah.
Because the man is not giving his love. He's got his love for you. It's not for her.
But what I'm saying is, after that happens,
Right.
the woman is going to change. She is not going to be that same person
But it's
she was
on you.
before.
And
It's
if
still
you
on
can't
me.
be-
Yeah, it's still
If
on
you
you.
took him
if
back-
if you can't be the
No,
same,
yeah.
if you can't be the same, then you need to either
Then don't take him back.
What
Yeah.
I'm saying is,
Right.
when you do take the guy back, because that's just reality, the next guy's probably going to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They might do it again, and it's going to change the woman
now,
after a while.
now again, if you took
People
him-
don't cheat one time and that's it.
Nah, some people do.
Yeah. So let me explain.
They got caught.
Let me
Probably
explain
what
for me. I can't do it. I just can't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't want to do that to her.
Right.
I'm
and
not
that's
gonna do
what
that
we're
to her.
trying to.
No,
so
but-
when you do it, even though you're
And I
not
know
trying
the-
to do it to
and
her,
I know the
to her
moment- and I know the
intentionally,
moment-
But that's just how we feel.
So
Like,
I'm sorry,
How
I'm
can you do that? How can you do that?
Right. So the moment, right? You don't let a moment destroy a whole life, right? I know that. So that's why I don't go for that moment.
Right.
You don't
What
let
am
it
I-
Or put
happen.
yourself
What
in
am I going to do that?
predicament.
Why am I going to go for that moment?
Right.
There's no reason to go for that moment
Right.
because it's going to because for me it's not worth
not
it.
worth it.
I don't want to hurt her. You know what I
My
mean?
thing is, my point is, men, when you do cheat, your woman is gonna change after that. She's not gonna get better, or
Well,
she's not
again,
gonna
again,
even probably even listen
It's-
anymore
it's-
Yeah,
because
yeah,
she,
Right.
yeah. We know all of this though. What he's saying is facts.
Is to go past that and to try to mold, where
Because
he
if you
does
take him-
feel, because
if-
then maybe you guys didn't have that emotional attachment to begin with. Because if he doesn't care about your feelings,
Then he would, yeah, exactly.
But you
he's-
got
then he
guys
might not
like
be the right man.
You got people like you guys on the podcast saying, making it okay.
it's not
No,
okay.
no, yeah,
we
but-
keep
not
saying
okay.
this
I'm-
over
it's-
and over again.
No,
but
but
it's
I'm
not
saying
okay.
it's people that think that that's okay.
It's not
Right, right,
okay.
right.
We
So I'm
say-
going
we
to
say it all the time. It's
it
not
now.
okay. We're
Cheating is
saying
not
that-
okay. I'm just telling you that the natural
thing of a man.
The natural thing of a man
People
is
take
the natural
advantage
thing of a
of
woman
that.
Is. Oh,
No.
maybe.
Yeah, they
Maybe.
do.
That's what I'm
They
trying
do.
to say.
Possibly.
They do.
They'll
but-
attach to it and
Yeah,
grab to that.
they've been uncheated. Play this clip. Like, see, he
Right,
said
right,
da
right,
da da
right,
da.
right. No,
You're
no, I
like-
agree. I agree with that.
But
I
yeah,
do.
Yeah.
but the thing is,
So
I was just
it's-
talking about naturally.
That's
Yeah,
why
it's-
we kind of hate
when we talk about
agreeing
this,
with
yeah.
you, because like we know
It's
that
almost
it's
like
true in
condoning it.
reality. Yeah,
I know
like,
what you mean.
So we have to, no matter what, just keep letting y'all know.
Any
like,
God-fearing man that doesn't want to lose his wife is not going to cheat.
yeah.
I'm not doing it.
He's not going to, like he said,
And
it's
for what
too
it
much
took
to
for me
lose.
to get back, you know what I mean? Because being out of the house, I was separated for a long time. I wasn't in the house. I was at my parents' house, and my dad got sick. He got cancer. He was battling it, beat prostate cancer, battled it, got bladder cancer, beat it, I guess. And then the bladder cancer came back even more, and then it got worse. And I was in separation with my wife at that time. So my dad was really sick, taking me to the used car dealership, taking me to court, taking me to the outpatient rehabs, sick, almost like crashing
his
in
life,
the
yeah.
morning. So I remember I had to go to court, and then I had to tell them, listen, I need my license back. They
Yeah,
suspended it for a long
take care of my
time.
dad.
So my father, and then they gave it back to me. So, which was great. But that separation period with my father on New Year's Eve, when I was going up to this was 2016, right? So it was about to turn 2017. And I said that my dad wasn't feeling too good. He was there. He was standing and stuff. Everything was cool. I went to his room, and I said, just listen, I'm going up to my family's house. I said, tonight. And I said, I'm not going to disappoint you. I'm going to make this right. And then that night he fell. The cancer attacked him, brought him to the hospital, and then I wasn't able to talk to him after that ever again. But I would never, and I do remember talking to him when I grabbed his hand. I said, I'm back at the house. And I said, I'm staying. I said, I'm not going to, and he squeezed me, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So there's not only one person watching me, which is God. There's another person watching me, it's my father. So I'm not going to do, and listen, when you have kids, and if you're a husband and you're a father, why don't you think about what their kids are going to feel, you know,
Yeah,
before
that
you do
too.
something, because it ruins everything. So,
Yeah.
you know, you need a mother and a father in the home, and you can't have a mother and a father in the home if you're doing boy things,
Talk to him.
you know, and not caring about your son and the way he looks at it, you know, because he looks at his mother as his mother, and you're going to cheat on her, and if he finds that out,
Yeah.
you know, it's not good for the family.
Yeah.
And that's, again, another influence that's put upon us to say that it's okay and to you know, to not have, you know, to be divorced. And listen, and we know that it should happen sometimes. I'm not saying that it shouldn't, but you really need to not use it as the first option.
Yes.
You need to work on your marriage.
Yeah.
And you will come through. Because the love, the fuzzy love, the
Fades
little
away.
butterfly love always goes away. Okay? It always goes. There's different stages of love. Me and my wife's love are way different today than it was 20 years ago.
Right.
And you got to take that extra step. The butterflies are always going to go away.
I feel like
So people wait for those butterflies. They go away. I don't feel the same. Well,
I
yeah,
feel like that-
obviously you
that-
don't
Yeah,
feel
right.
the
You with this
same.
person every day.
I
You
feel
know,
like
when you
that-
got your Mercedes, you had butterflies, right? Now you
Right.
don't anymore, right?
Talk to
Did you
him.
trade your car?
Right.
Yeah. I feel like that love should turn into loyalty over the years. That's how it should be.
So the loyalty's always there,
Should still be
even
love.
when you're not in love anymore, and even when you're separated.
Damn, that's so true.
The loyalty's
Yeah.
there. You know when it comes down to it, they're going to be there for you, and you're going to be there for them.
Exactly. That's what it should
All right.
be.
But the love, it's a real stage of love. You have the butterfly love. That's why you'll see people get divorced after about 7 years. You know, they're divorced because
The
you,
feelings
you
gone.
probably have two kids, and they're both babies, and you're not having the same activities that you were together.
Yeah, right.
Talk to
True.
him.
All right. And now you think that the love is not there. And then you think that it's her. But yeah, she's doing a lot. She's carrying two kids. She was carrying two kids, and now she's raising two kids. She's not going to look.
Plus you.
She's not going to look perfect. She's working. What do you do when you go to work? You work, you turn a wrench, you come in sloppy, right? You got all this oil on your. What are you going to? She's going to leave you? No, you're going to shower. All right. So she's going to get better through time too, but you have to work through that because it's the activities you're not having together and why you think
Yeah.
that you're not in love anymore. But the bottom line is that you have to make time for it. So what that means is you should do a once a month, go out to dinner.
I was just
you know,
about to
you
say-
got to keep it alive in some way.
Yeah.
And also, you know, never degrade your wife in front of your children ever. You know,
Or in public.
And, and
Anyone.
listen,
Yeah.
I can say that I've been guilty of that at times, and I'm learning. You know, and I've learned, I should say. I wouldn't say it happens now, today, but listen, you use that for an advantage to do what you want to do. You know, so you put her down in some way, and then you start telling your kids about it. You don't do that stuff.
Yeah.
That's not what you do. All right, you keep that relationship whole to your kids' eyes. Number one, if you do have to separate,
Great
but number
advice.
two, you got to work through it. After 7 or 8 years, fight through that, and you're going to get to another stage of that marriage, and then something else is going to come about. You know, me and my wife have been through it all, ups and downs, and she's probably been through more because of me, and she's still standing, and I praise her for that.
Right.
how it
Talk
should
to
be.
him. Y'all got any more questions? I feel like we.
No.
All right.
That was a good
Yeah, we can end on this note. So I've noticed working at the dealership, when the music be playing on the radio, you be real into the music. I just want to know what kind of music you into. You be talking about hip hop a lot. And then you said Kanye was your favorite rapper. So
No, so Kanye is not my favorite
So
rapper.
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah, my
Chicago.
favorite rapper is Tupac, but
Hey.
yeah, it's Tupac. But the bottom line is, and the reason why I say that is, put on a Tupac song today, and it's not outdated.
Talk to him.
That's me.
You know,
He had a message, that's
let's,
why.
Let's put on one of these other songs. You know what I mean? That they play. You can't play it anymore. It's like
Yeah, it's
corny. You know what I mean?
After 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so-
expiration date.
I got this.
Like remember that
tattoo
song?
because of
This is
Tupac.
why I'm hot.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
why I'm
well,
hot. Remember that was
yeah,
like years
yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the
I
artist
play
name.
it now. I'm like, wow, this
I'm
sucks.
speaking
Yeah.
of it.
Right?
I'm hot.
Timeless.
I'm fly.
Tupac's timeless. But
Mims. That was his name. Mims.
Mims.
Mims,
Dag,
yeah.
wow.
Kanye's a great rapper. I think he's a genius. I think this last stunt he pulled, I don't know yet
Yeah.
if it's
Okay.
real or not, because
How do you feel about that? Do you think
I
he should have
said that too,
disclosed
like-
that?
What, the pee until he was 14?
Yeah.
That one?
Do you think he should have
Everything
disclosed it?
Kanye do is for a reason.
I don't know why
I don't
he
even
said that.
believe he's gay.
No, he's not.
I don't
so
believe
listen,
that.
I believe that he probably listen. Let's just say that it was real in some way, and then he needed to let out his truth.
Frustrations, yeah.
That's okay.
No one
Fine,
asked
I'm
him.
okay with that. But you didn't need to do it on
No
a
one
record.
asked him.
If he put it on a record, it's to sell records. So
Talk to
the
him.
bottom line is that he did the Cousins song. He put it out there. Nobody really listened to it. Little snippets of it, right? You can't even find it anywhere. You got to listen to snippets here and there, right? YouTube and all this. And then what happens? Then Down to 2, which was on STEM 2 years ago, now is top 5. He just brought it out, and it's on iTunes right after all that stuff. So it just lets you know what he's doing. You just need to know what he's doing. Or he's preemptively striking, meaning something's going to come about like him that has to do with Diddy a little bit. You know what I mean? That's something like a
Oh,
Diddy
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So then he wants to say, so if he brings this out,
get
then he
out
can
of
say
the
that
car.
he's been traumatized
Yeah.
already. And then
He already been crazy.
Yeah.
So it puts him in a better position than Diddy is right
True.
now.
To get ahead of a curve.
So he's smart like that. So it could be one of two things.
He's a great PR man.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
very good. And you
Very
got to
good.
remember, he doesn't have the machine behind him anymore, meaning
Right.
the Universals and all these people, right? So
That's
he's got to
true.
do it all himself.
Yeah.
So he has to put on a black KKK costume.
Yeah.
He has to say he
got to garner the
with his
attention
cousin.
in the-
He had to do something with his cousin. That's to garner the attention. He has to do
And
that.
all the Trump stuff too.
He has to do that. You know what I mean? So that's number one. Number two, do I believe he's bipolar? No, I don't think he is, personally. I think he's just out of his
Smart.
mind. And
Too
he's smart. I don't think he is bipolar. I think they tried to gauge him or try to tell him he's got something because they wanted to make him look crazy like they did with Dave Chappelle and many others. You
Talk to
know, they try to make you look crazy because you want to tell the truth. You know, and that's the difference. You know, he's not married to Kim Kardashian. I know he wants to be married, or maybe not anymore. But at the time, he thought, well, after his mother's passed, and that's also a big reason.
Yep.
So his mother passed, and now he's got his wife that he thought was 1,000% for him, right? But then he found out she was just a handler, right? You know what a handler is, right?
Yeah.
So
No.
a handler is
No, it was
a
a
median.
handler.
It's a median between like a corporation or something
a handler.
for you.
Yeah,
Tell
yeah.
Kanye to get
Yeah.
the MAGA hat off. That's what she's paid.
Yeah.
She's run by somebody.
Yeah.
And that's why he got away from that. And that's why all of them, even his trainer, even his doctor, they were all handlers by somebody else above him that pays.
Once you get to billionaire status, it's probably hard to meet real people.
You know, Taylor
Right.
Swift is, I don't think she's a great, listen, okay, she does music, the girls
That was
like
about
her,
to be my next question.
but she's not great.
Overrated.
Okay, she's only great, and now she's a billionaire. Why is she a billionaire? Because someone above her that she has to do everything for made her a billionaire. And if she doesn't do everything that they ask, she's not a billionaire
won't be a
anymore.
billionaire.
That's why she sits next to Ice Spice in a stadium on a Super Bowl. She's not friends with Ice Spice, guys.
Talk to
Yeah.
him.
Okay, they're there for a reason. Okay, and they're there to influence. And if they talk out of the side of their mouth, they lose all their money. Same thing with Cardi B. Same thing with, I could tell you,
Yeah,
many
a bunch
other
of them.
people. Okay, and that's the reason. So don't think that they're billionaires. They got put to be a billionaire.
And that's what Tupac used to actually teach
Talk about.
and talk
Yeah,
about.
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got this tattoo on my neck. It says Illuminati from Tupac. I've read I studied a lot about him and why he did the whole like Machiavelli and all this extra stuff. But he
was
was
bringing
one of
out-
those people that was trying to let everybody know what was going on, and he was willing to die about it.
And he did.
And unfortunately, he that's the path he had. So he was just voicing his music on wax, and then doing. But that's the only way he could do it. But they eventually brought him down. You know, I don't care what anybody says. There's a reason why Biggie's dead in New York and Tupac's dead in the West.
Absolutely.
They want people to look up to these people to say they were great, so then they can start a different. So they can go down the same path of destruction that was done on purpose. We could say what we want. We could say it was Suge Knight. We could say it was everybody.
Right.
I believe Diddy
Has something to
was
do
a
with
part of it.
Yeah.
And he is by Clive Davis. He gets paid a certain amount of money. He has to do it that way. So that's why it was done the way it was done. That's why we look at Tupac as God on the West and Biggie as God on the East when you're in hip hop. And then they have something to look up to
Derivatives
and
upon
then to
that.
go down that same path and then end up in the same destruction.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. Well, you know, the music industry is to me is a very devilish industry. There are good people in it. Just
Of
like
course.
there's bad apples and everywhere,
course.
right? There are good people in it, but they are really demonic. There's a lot of demonic, the way they do
Yes.
business.
Yeah, Ice Spice. I don't even think I've ever even heard her talk. She
Yeah.
just looks like a doll.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
all they
it's
want. They're
brutal.
making her for other girls to get influenced by her.
Yeah.
It's the only reason. Why do you think Cardi B got signed? That's the same reason. She's not a writer. She's not a rapper. She's not. Partisan Fontaine made everything. So the bottom line is that she was a figure to look up, and she's got a lot of fans, and that's why she was put on. Guys, it's all about the vote, and that's why they put him on stage to say, "Don't vote for Trump, vote for Biden." When is she
Right. They had
listening
so many
Yeah.
celebrities
Why-
these
That
past
was
few years
crazy.
doing that.
And why do you think they did it? Because
You
they
could tell they were paid.
they have to. It's not just about paid. It's because they have to do it. It's not, they can't say no. They cannot
They're gonna
say
rip
no.
their life away from them as soon as
Everything.
they say no. Yeah.
Every dollar.
Because at that point, it's like it's just keeping the engine going. So it's
Yeah.
like they're influences, they're figureheads for
Michael Jackson.
Same thing. Yeah.
He wasn't, to me, he wasn't a pedophile or anything like that, man. A lot of people that talk about it, even the kids, they go, "You know how big his bedroom was?" Yeah, we slept in the same bedroom, but he was all the way over there. And we were all the way over here. He wasn't like that, man.
One
They
of my
tried to bring
friends
him
was
down
telling me
because
that.
he bought the Beatles catalog. Bought the Beatles catalog.
It's all
and
about money. Trace the money.
He owned
Trace the money.
50% of Sony. Okay, 50% of Sony. And when they had him killed, I don't care what they said, that the black
Right,
dude, the black doctor, was a fall guy, and he got paid. Now he's out of jail now,
Right.
and it is what it is. But they killed him because as soon as they killed him, the Beatles catalog they bought the other half of Sony back. Sony bought the other half of Sony back, and they got it from the estate of Michael for like nothing, like 700 million or something like that, I don't even remember. I don't know what it was, the amount. But then they have the Beatles catalog again. It's not his anymore.
Yeah.
They got it all back. Prince,
So
same
when-
thing. Prince, they killed him because they wanted his unpublished music.
So I'm saying trace the money.
Well,
Money
every
will
time-
tell
Now,
you a
I'm
lot.
not
time.
saying that some people aren't bad. R. Kelly's a bad person, okay? But they didn't put him away for being a bad person. They put him away because he wanted his publishing, because he was going broke, and he wanted his money. And that's why they put him away,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
because of the
yeah.
girls. Because
right,
if they
right.
cared about the girls, they would have
That's the
coached
same
him in
thing
the
they said with
beginning.
Diddy.
They would have coached him
Yeah.
in the beginning when they signed him and said, "Hey,
Can't
we
start
see you hanging out with some 14 and 15-year-olds.
Would've
You
been
can't do that
blackmailing
anymore."
him.
But they didn't. They let him do it so they can bury you
So they
later.
could blackmail you.
Okay.
Same thing with Tory Lanez.
Diddy's a bad person too. Okay, he's a bad person, but he did all those things and they let him do it, right? But at the end of the day, it's because he sued a liquor company and won. And there's only a certain amount of people that own these liquor companies, okay? And they're from like Britain, a lot of them. But he sued them for because he's a figure. They were just trying to promote him for black liquor as opposed to promoting for everybody. And he said,
Right.
"I'm a mogul." What do you mean? Everybody around the world knows me. I want to be able to sell to everybody.
Right, yeah.
I can sell to everybody. And they said no. And then he sued them for being racist or whatever the case is. I don't know the actual name. And then he won $1 billion. And then 3 months later,
All this
Cassie
thing
came
stuff
out.
coming out.
Cassie
So
came out.
so now let me
Cassie, yeah.
let me say
Cassie
this.
was paid by those people too.
Let me say
It's
this.
all on purpose. Now Cassie
Is
deserves.
not lying.
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
she's not
yeah.
lying.
Yeah.
This whatever's happening is deserved to
Yeah.
happen
Yeah.
to Diddy. Honestly, he's a bad person, man. Talk to Mace. Talk to anybody.
Yeah.
They're dead anyways. You can't talk to them. Heavy D's dead. Who else is dead? Black Rob, Biggie. They're all dead, man. And if you actually think for a second that they don't know when you kill a great rapper that his music's not going to sell 10 million times more.
Extra.
Happens
Yeah,
everywhere.
more, I mean-
Juice WRLD, same thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
everything.
Puffy,
They more.
Puffy
Damn,
definitely.
They're worth
Juice
more
WRLD
dead
too,
than
word.
alive. Yeah.
And if you know, he was supposed to go to London, Biggie, not
Same
supposed
thing
to go
with
to
Aaliyah,
Cali.
too.
He wasn't supposed to go to California to do that source thing. He was supposed to go to London and promote his album and stuff like that. And he changed it on him. And he told him he has to go there. We need to go there. And then he got killed.
Because then look at it like this, and then this is what people need to understand when they're looking at the context of things. When something happens to a big artist, specifically when it comes about jail, death, or something coming out about them, check within the year before that happened. And
Oh, yeah,
things
yeah,
that
you'll find out.
That
you'll
they
find-
were doing.
Yeah.
The person that died, see what they were doing before they died.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah,
They also say that Kobe was.
yeah, I mean,
there's a rumor out there that Kobe, I guess, was going to open up some kind of league overseas. And
Wow.
and then all of a sudden, then he died. So
Aaliyah too. She was about to be a big
Rest in
movie
peace
star.
to the Black Mamba.
Movie star, singer, everything, and then she did her Rock the Boat, and I think there was
then
the
they filmed it over there, and then
Bahamas.
she died.
Yeah, on the
Oh, you
they
mean
put
Aaliyah?
her. Yeah, they put her on a plane, like a little jet, like it was a plane,
Mm-hmm.
though, but like a real small one, with all the equipment from the music video, everything up there with her, and she was scared of planes, and she said she was calling people like, I don't think I should get on this plane. It don't feel right. and they were forcing her because Dame Dash talk about it all the time. They were forcing her, and they gave her a sleeping pill. So when she was up there, she would sleep.
Wow.
So she didn't know really nothing.
But even Left Eye Lopez, she was also one advocating for the food, the way the food is, and
Yeah,
the poisons
right.
that they're
She was
putting.
another one.
She got killed. They're all listen.
Yeah.
Dr. Sebi was another
Yeah.
guy.
Damn.
Did you know that he won that case?
Nipsey.
So
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Sebi,
I
Nipsey
nobody
used
knows
to
about
study
this.
him a lot.
Dr.
And Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah,
you're
they try to
right.
make it like
Nipsey
it's like
Hussle, too. Same
some
thing.
crime,
he was
like
come
killer
out with
crime, but it's
something.
like
he was going to come out with something
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
going to, and that's what they didn't want. But Dr. Sebi was he proved that he found ingredients from the earth that cure AIDS.
Yep.
oh AIDS?
AIDS.
Or was it?
It was AIDS, and then they put him to court, and he won. Look it up. He won because he does have the cure for it, and it was all this stuff is done on purpose. Number one, for quality control, meaning pop
Right.
control, You know, as far as your
Yeah.
the general, what's that called?
Population.
General population. You have to control it in some way. I like to say in a sort of way that, and even the music business, right, hand in hand, the private prisons are owned by a lot of the music execs. So that's the reason they
Damn,
fill
I
them
didn't even
up.
get that far.
So
deep.
what they did was,
Sheesh.
there was a meeting of some sort they had signed NDAs for that. Hey, we like this reality rap thing. We need to carry this on, and we need to do this. So that's why they tell them you have to rap this, and I'll give you more money. They give them more money to rap that way, so then the kids that listen to them can commit crimes and go to jail. That's what it's about.
Starts in the
So
music,
the
people.
jails could stay busy.
That's what it's about, and to take black people and put them in jail.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
in the
And,
jails,
and it's really terrible, guys.
they
I'm
do
telling
a
you
lot in
honestly,
the
I'm
jails.
like
they work a lot in the jails too. I didn't know like the inmates like do a lot of work.
Oh, yeah,
around
that's
there.
all you-
like,
that's
clean
all
up
you
the
doing.
place, sewing and cooking.
Yeah, that's all you doing.
cleaning,
For
like,
pennies and a dollar.
Yep.
I think Dame Dash said it right, that they just changed the way they do it, but they're still caging you.
Still
they're
slavery,
they're
yeah.
still slavery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
And I always
And
say
then they're
to,
owned by like the public, right? Is it?
What, prisons? A lot of prisons are private.
private prisons.
private.
They're all private.
I mean, that's what I said. Public,
Oh, yeah.
private.
Like they're owned by
Yeah.
A lot of the
Yeah,
music
yeah,
execs, yeah. So,
Yeah, that I didn't know. That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
absolutely.
you know, like they say this is supposed to be the home of the brave, land of the free, right? Well, now it's beginning to be very evident that it's the home of the slave, land of the elite.
Damn.
So just think about that for a hot second.
Dropping gems out here, guys.
Yeah,
Facts.
man.
Gems.
any last shot questions?
Yeah,
Nah, that was
anything?
good.
That was
You got
good.
any questions for
yeah,
us
that's
That
just
was
I'm
good.
like
That's good.
for the elite.
before I do the outro?
Go ahead.
Nah, go ahead.
I'm ready for your outro. What are you doing, a freestyle rap?
Yes,
What's going on?
sir.
No.
Ski. Look, man. The best way to have a good conversation is to shut the fuck up and listen. I sat here this whole time. As soon as he asked me to be the
Right, that was
host,
good.
as soon as he asked me to be on the show, I'm like, look, people would love to hear your opinion. I could have got up here and be like, nah, you don't know about this. You don't know about that. You don't know about hip hop. Nah, I let that man talk, let him speak, see how y'all receive him on the internet. And yeah, I think it was a very beautiful episode. I learned a lot. How you guys feel about it?
I thought it was
Yeah,
pretty
nah,
interesting.
that was really good.
It got deep, right? I
Like
think
you
it got
said,
pretty
by
deep.
not asking questions, you were already like answering them before I could get to them. Like,
Absolutely.
Even about music, like we already kind of could tell like who you listen to and stuff like that.
Yep. You can learn anything from anybody.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Sirski.
Just gotta listen.
Whether they have money or not.
Talk to
Yeah.
him.
Yep.
We out.
I'm Jewel, if you want to know.
You can't tell me it's not perfect timing. All that talking been doing all that denying. And your friends see me doing all that eyeing. Running through the money like it's a stipend. And right now all you do is wasting time. You hate what I do but secretly you like it. And I see your face, see your waist. Shorty bad, I need a taste. And I need a taste. I know there's a lot of people that want your place with you.